Hey going guys, and welcome back to the T.G.C podcast number 2. I'm Eddie. I'm joined by
Nick,
Paul,
and Reese.
Let's see what we learned this week.
So that's better. That's a lot tighter than it was last week. Last week we had this whole thing about...
screw you.
Well, hey, dude, it was a nice effort, but it didn't work, all right? You got to take constructive criticism.
some good flow happening right here.
Yeah, right.
constructive.
Yeah. All right, sweet. So what have we got up first, Eddie?
Well, the same thing that we've been going for with new members every week.
Yeah. I love how our family is growing.
slowly growing. So an answer that we've all gone through is what originally got you into gaming? Like, was it?
So Nick, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, like
about
so.
myself.
Yeah, like what was your first console? Like, who originally gave it to you, or whatever?
Oh, first console. Well, I had crap parents, so they bought me I can't even know. I probably didn't even have a PS2. So I went to a mate's house quite a bit and played some games.
Fair enough.
Let's be honest, probably just took over the console. Game of life. Anyway, moving on. First console that I wanted to get was probably an Xbox One, to be honest. As soon as I saw Halo, I was like, my God.
Original Xbox.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Not the Xbox One, because that's really bad.
The original Xbox One.
Yeah, that was
Incredibly inconvenient.
Yeah, I didn't purchase that and return it. That never happened. Moving on. Halo pretty much got me into gaming entirely. I loved games before that. GTA, San Andreas, we know how that's about.
Yeah.
Senseless killing is always fun. Great, G-rated. Moving on.
But we had an entire segment on slavery last week, so
Let's go. I missed out.
As much as a segment.
Yeah. We got away from it, and then he somehow rounded the podcast back
I had
to it.
more to say.
Probably just those word triggers that start firing off.
How about you, Paul? What originally got you into gaming?
Was 3. It was a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that it might have been the week before or the week that I actually got it. I was just like a little kid and I was screaming to my parents. I was like one of those kids. And I could choose between the Super Nintendo or the PlayStation. And I got the Super Nintendo because it came with all these games.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to the just those great games that actually came up, when it comes down to I'm just trying to remember which ones I got. But there was
Did
4
you
of
have
them
the
on
Star
there.
Wars games?
Yes.
Those were
I
really
did.
good.
They actually were good.
When I got my Game Boy Pocket, we had a Star Wars game on that, and I was like, I don't know how to play this.
Yeah.
Wait.
They were so hard.
Yeah.
That was so hard. Like playing any of the Revenge of the Sith type games, like those old school ones. They were like, do this for 10 hours and try and win.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can't, no one cares.
Yeah,
So what's everyone been playing this week?
Oh,
I myself have been playing Pokemon Alpha Sapphire.
nice.
I finally got my 3DS working again.
Cat has entered the room.
Yes,
I'll just get a formal invitation to the cat. Hey,
Actually, just a sidetrack.
Play more games than I have.
Who actually had a Game Boy here? Like a Game Boy Color?
Yeah, I did.
I had a Game Boy Pocket, and then I got
And
a
the purple
Game Boy
one, yeah.
SP.
Ever played that fucking Yoda game?
No.
Alright. There was a game that came out. It was called Star Wars Yoda, and it came out in 98, 99, and it was it was just the worst piece of shit because the game didn't actually work. Like, you couldn't get past the first level. Basically, what it did was you'd go and get the key to unlock the cave. It was kind of like one of those old school top-down Zelda tile type games.
Did George Lucas make it?
I think so. It must,
makes sense.
it must have been like the spiritual successor to that ET game because this thing was just insane. And then every time you failed to do something, Yoda would just look at you in like a pixelated face and be like, "No, try again." And I mean,
Just get recording.
Oh yeah, just
Getting over and over. Yeah.
So that made me hate Yoda.
Yeah. I suppose it just had one of those things that you would chuck on, so it'll get the game's code and make it all sort of work in your favour. When it comes down to those Game Sharks, I think it was
Game Genie.
Game Genie. Yeah, one of those. I think that you probably could have actually gotten past it if you did something with that. Like, those things could do all those sorts of stuff.
Dude, I was 7. I was proud that I knew what all 150 Pokemon were.
Yep.
Hey, there's nothing wrong
Seriously,
with knowing
we're
the
one of
original
them,
151.
I could still probably do the Poke Rap.
I couldn't do
Let's
that.
not get into that. All right.
Back to what we've been playing this week.
I love that was at the Grammy. Someone just goes up and does the Poke Rap.
Bang, doesn't
Get like Childish Gambino or something.
Be the best bloody thing there. Yeah.
Give him a Grammy.
Nick, games this week for you. What have you been playing?
Oh, a bit of Evolve, because that game is amazing cooperative play.
I still haven't had a chance to play it.
Get it, do it now. We will be playing it. Moving on. What else have I been playing? Played a little bit of Battlefield 4, just on and off here and there. Really good to get back into that game, but you need a bunch of friends. So let's be honest, without communication, who fucking doesn't
Tomorrow
really?
night.
Tomorrow night. Look at that. Podcast. You've
It's
heard
actually
it
not that
tomorrow night,
bad because when it comes down to most players in Battlefield 4, they're actually pretty terrible. So even so just say like you are the person who's like the squad leader, but I think in Battlefield 4, because I haven't played much of it, I didn't like it at all compared to the third one. You can play as like the leader of the team. So
I was always a better battle commander. I was always a better commander than I was a soldier.
Yeah. Don't beat yourself down. You were reliable.
You're an adequate soldier.
You gave out those health packs like a trooper.
I was about to say medic of the month.
Yeah.
Come
Seriously,
on. Important.
I do remember. Oh, what's that prison? That prison map where there's just that one hallway where it's just a kill zone.
Operation Lockout.
Operation Shotgun.
I remember you tried to run through the hallway one. You tried to be Nick tried to be a hero one time. Run through the hallway. Gets annihilated immediately. And he goes, "Eddie, can you get me?" I'm like, I can give it a try. I run in there, revive you. We both got out, and we're just like, how did we manage to get out of there?
Yeah, it was like in between every gunfight, and it was like, just how does the paddles work? I was like,
I still remember playing with James. This is about 6 months ago.
He's good.
Yeah,
at dying.
James. we were
he's good at being a bullet shield.
We were playing one of the new maps, and James was the last one left because we were going from one base to another, and we had to cross an open road. And between the buildings and the road and the bases, there were all these shipping containers, and we all went through different. Yeah, do you remember this?
I can already see where this is going. Yes.
We all went through different alleyways to get to the road, so we split up. And when we crossed over, there was a fucking tank and another squad coming towards us, and so we just got obliterated. And so we're shouting, "James, James, go back, go back!" And he's running in circles, going, "Where are the enemy? Where are the enemy?" And he's getting shot at, and we're like, just run!"
I'm pretty sure I remember a very similar moment when we happened to have again a tank in front of us, and I'm pretty sure another squad, all low on health, hiding in this thing. It's just like, all right, guys, if we don't shoot, we'll be fine. Who's shooting? We're all dead. Thank you, James.
And James was like, "I got hit markers."
I do remember there was one time when we were sort of fooling around a little bit, and you guys
on the game.
Yeah, you guys were pinned down. You guys are pinned down. I just respawned at our main spawn. There's a helicopter there. I'm like, guys, there's a helicopter here.
That's the game, man.
guys, there's a helicopter here. And you're like, bring it over. I'm like, how do I helicopter?
Yeah. He's literally the fucking noob from Battlefield.
Yeah. We're just like, we have one now. We are the noob. This is amazing.
He's like, I have to learn how to do this at some point, so don't pressure me.
So I got in, I went up, and then I turned upside down and crashed.
We may like that. That seriously does happen to me a long time. I just sort of gave up with choppers, but when I got down to jets in Battlefield 3, I didn't do too badly in that.
No,
that wasn't too bad.
I don't touch choppers or jets in Battlefield anymore.
Shotgun the drive of every vehicle. Shotgun.
Yeah. So anyway,
tanks are good.
Yeah. News for this week. Unfortunately, Leonard Nimoy, famous for portraying Mr. Spock in the original Star Trek, has passed away at age 83.
Let's be honest, that's a good innings.
Yeah.
And
I thought he was older, so I mean.
No, I knew he was in his early to mid 80s.
He was in his olds.
I can just imagine Shatner dying from erotic asphyxiation in a brothel.
Didn't some TV show sort of have that created? I don't know. There was some show that actually had that. I think
Boston Legal, he had mad cow disease.
Oh well, that's Boston Legal. That's
Shatner's going to be a cow.
But yeah, back to it. 83 is a pretty good age. I mean, it came down to it. He could have lived longer, but it was revealed that it was some medical condition due to his excessive smoking from back in the 70s.
Smoking's good for your kids. Don't listen to the man.
Smoking and syphilis.
Syphilis is good for you.
Nah. What else?
Does anyone here actually really
Rest in peace, big bloke.
I have watched a bit of Star Trek. The only reason is basically someone else put it in the background, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting."
I did watch it, but I really couldn't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the original one
is a problem.
Well, because some of the Star Trek that I've seen, the really good episodes,
they're good. They
actually hold up.
They're really good, but
because it's
the practical effects and the special effects just doesn't hold up. It's just impossible.
No, the good ones are the ones where they're all the mind games, or they're all about how civilization works around each other when they use other pretend civilizations, of course. And then they work about, it's basically racial undertones and whatnot. And I was just told last week we were talking about slavery, so let's be honest, this is an interesting topic.
That's how we're going to get our niche on iTunes.
Didn't just say that. We just said that. Yeah,
I'm just
so-
glad it's still not called ISIS because that was really awkward.
Yeah, I don't know who thought of that
Yeah.
one. Jeez, he might be. Well, did he move? Did that person who named that, did he move to Syria? Was that a thing? No? Oh, no.
I mean, me. I'm still here. Adrian took my passport.
Oh, assholes. What do they know? Anyway. Yeah.
Well, they sort of do handle all our affairs, so we hope that they actually know a lot.
Asia are good guys. We're not ISIS. How you
I mean,
know?
ideally, they're probably the only people who are actually listening to this. So
Yeah,
they're our biggest fans.
So continuing on with stuff that was mentioned last week.
Snapchat nudes.
Yeah.
Continuing on with stuff that was mentioned last week. GTA 5 has been delayed on the PC for the fourth time.
What's this?
GTA 5's been delayed again on PC.
Oh, really?
This is the fourth or the fifth time it's been delayed
it's-
now
Yeah,
on PC.
So GTA 6 will come out before 5 comes
Yeah,
out,
probably.
so,
Yeah.
Seems to be the go. Well, guess what? If you own a PC, buy a console already. Sort it out.
GTA 5. Well, I'll tell you what, about that game, I actually played it for the first time, not that long ago, like probably I don't know. Not that long ago.
Days, weeks.
Not long, weeks.
Weeks, sorry.
Oh,
Maybe.
okay.
Maybe, yeah, like when it comes down to this year, it's just been a huge blur. And yeah, like I've just gotten around to playing it, and it's still not come out on PC. You know, because that game came out in September 2013.
About
correct?
18 months ago it came
14.
out now.
Yeah,
13.
13. Yeah.
Shit, was 13, yes. That's
Yeah,
18.
we are
That's-
that old.
That is 18 months now.
It's about 18 months, yeah.
Mm.
And
And they
we're
still
still
didn't-
waiting on
yeah.
heists.
Yeah. Yeah, what's his
That's
height?
fair enough, although when it comes down to Grand Theft Auto 4, what was the gap between the console release and the PC release?
It was about 9 months.
About 9 months.
Yeah.
It wasn't as long as this.
Let's be honest, a year is probably the most you can have.
And the gap between
coming out on
Vice
another
City from the PS2 version to Xbox and PC, like that was like, I think it might have been
Oh, that was
1 year and a half,
you're
maybe?
talking
or
2003, 2004.
about 2 years, maybe, actually, yeah.
I mean, the
So,
thing
of
with
course, yeah.
GTA 5, it's going to come out on PC and it's going to sell like crazy. Like they'll sell
Yeah.
another 10, 15
It
million
is, yeah.
units.
They're gonna make another $1 billion off it, I reckon.
Yeah.
And it really wouldn't surprise me if they were just, trying to find ways to stop it being pirated to try and like.
Yeah, they might use it as a backdrop or something, so a bit of a support, and they need some more cash. Not that they do need cash, but just to chuck it in there when they're like,
Do you reckon
guys,
they're gonna-
we need some more money coming in? Bang.
Sorry. Do you reckon they're trying to find ways to stop it from being pirated entirely, or do you reckon they're trying to find ways to fuck with people that
No,
pirate
they
it?
want to stop it being pirated entirely. It's,
Yeah.
They're
They're a
don't-
company that knows they're going to get money, so why wouldn't they want to do everything in their interest to get that money? Makes sense.
Although, when it does come down to that game being on PC, it's going to be great because all the
Mods.
users get together and
All
they just
the
mod it,
modders.
and
All the
it,
modders.
it looks great. It looks great.
I can't wait to see it
If
in
you
4K.
seriously have, like, when it comes down to your PC rig, if it's great and it all runs, and when you've got, like, the actual final version, like, they did Grand Theft Auto 4, the last pack, where when it comes down to those textures.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous.
It's
Like, when
almost
it comes down to the sun,
photorealistic. It's
like
insane.
just bounces off cars and, rain effects, like it drips down poles correctly, It's
Super-
I know that about a year
Fantastic.
ago when PC people were like originally like, oh, when's it going to come out on PC? I know that some guy started modding GTA 4 to make GTA 5.
Yeah. And yeah, like he's probably going to be done by
He started making GTA 5
He was
in
racing
GTA 4.
Rockstar.
Yeah, I think he beat them.
You sent them the storyline. Sort it out.
All right, I have a really interesting thing because this has been. I had an argument a couple of days ago.
Why is that cat licking your iPad?
Loves it.
Missy, stop licking my iPad. Kind of weird.
Oh, it's just the cover, isn't it?
Wait, it's licking its tail.
Oh.
It's a mystery. Anyway, moving on.
Bloody cats.
Yeah, cat's like, fuck you. motherfucker.
All right, I have a little fantasy at the moment, and that fantasy is
We
like-
should go to the next topic now.
Oh no, you really want to hear this? You can learn something here, boy.
Hey.
Now, this fantasy does involve a black man. I really want Spider-Man.
As it usually does.
Yeah, as always. I really want the next Spider-Man to be black. I want Miles Morales to be the next Spider-Man.
Morales, yeah.
I want to know the reason behind, honestly. I just feel like, I don't know.
Because I want Donald Glover from Community to play Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
That would be amazing. He should
Yeah.
just be most things, let's be honest. I wouldn't say everything.
He
but-
is.
He could do it, yeah.
He's very... Yeah.
He could do it.
Yeah, he has like one of those faces that he could just be all serious.
He's got the right face and he's got the right build for it.
Yeah.
And he's like 30, but because he's black, he could pass off for 16.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's got that. He's got
I thought it
that
was an
young,
Asian thing, but
really young
blacks as
person.
well.
Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, well, yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, of course we're going to get into a grey
How
area.
old are we?
But when it comes down to their skin tone, like, it really doesn't show up. Like, when it comes down to white people, they age like milk.
How old do you think that Samuel L. Jackson is?
Well, he looks exactly
Samuel
like his
Jackson's
photo.
like 65.
Back in-
Isn't
yeah,
he?
yeah, he does.
Older.
Yeah, it's
What?
ridiculous. Like, they actually
Samuel
compared-
Jackson's like almost
Have you-
70.
they
Has
did.
anyone seen
They did.
Kingsman?
No, not yet.
No.
No.
Amazeballs. Yes, I just said that. The
Yeah.
movie is amazing.
Never heard that word out loud.
Really?
Before, yeah.
Fuck
and I
that,
wish I
it's out
didn't.
loud. Oh, yeah.
I can't hear that.
No,
No.
I love that word. Just moving on.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's that's great. Isn't
But
it?
seriously, like the movie, it's one of those movies that I haven't walked out of the cinemas in a long time where I've just been satisfied with watching the movie and that's it. Like, so many times you walk out of a movie like, oh, that was a stupid plot, or, oh, all right, the story, it was a bit predictable, or the effect, I don't know, it's just like it relies too much on effects.
I don't think I've been to the cinemas since Interstellar.
Yeah, I haven't been for a while actually. I want to go to see. I want to actually see Kingsman this weekend.
Yeah, I'd totally go see it again. Like that's how good the movie is. That it's just it's good moments of comedy, good moments of just wit. Like it's just done really well, and the action is over the top in the ways that you would enjoy it, and not. It's more of a probably I don't know, the action is more like yeah, okay, I can't think of the movie at the time, but it'll come back to me.
Kick-Ass.
Yes.
Yeah, it's done by the same guy.
Is it? No way. That makes sense.
Yeah, it was written by Mark Miller.
Because yeah, the action's amazing, but like not ridiculous at the same time. Anyway, cool.
Yeah, so which leads on to like the whole Spider-Man thing leads on to a bigger issue, which is that like how many characters, like popular characters, like James Bond, for instance, are defined by their ethnicity. Like if Idris Elba played the next James Bond after Daniel Craig.
Yeah, but you know the James Bond theory is that James Bond isn't one person; it's a code name. And when the actor is replaced, it's really that James Bond died and they named the new James Bond.
They have this spelled out for new continuity.
Yeah, the James Bond thing, I think I'm not going to lie, I think it's a bit of a white thing anyway, because it's always been that way. And not only has it just been that way, and that's the obvious, but it's more like the classy way that they've interpreted over the years of like a casino and who to expect to be in there has always been this same individual. Why that is, I don't really know. I don't pick these things, but
yeah, but the whole thing with James Bond, it's like they could get a black man or a woman to play it. It's the same as like why don't
a white woman James Bond.
Yeah,
it's a very woman.
Yeah, I know, but still, like it's the same.
Can
it's the
they
same
gamble?
sort of,
I've never once.
It's the same sort of argument.
Or drive.
It's the same sort of argument for Doctor Who is why haven't they had a black actor for Doctor Who? I mean, they can do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I know what you're getting at. Yeah, but I'd totally be for Idris Elba, and again, in everything, Idris Elba's an amazing actor, but
he's actually great.
And some of the roles he gets given are really ridiculous, but like whatever, he's amazing. So we'll move on to that. This is a bit of like black love going on.
Yeah.
Fantasies all around.
Nothing wrong with
We're trying to apologise for last week's episode.
Well, there
is nothing to apologise about.
Where Reese glorified his love for slavery.
Sounded fine.
Yeah. Don't know anything about it. It should be
past.
Yeah. Get over it, guys. So slavery. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, just to recap from last week, what the slavery conversation was about was I was saying that there were massive similarities between Django Unchained and Pokemon. And I made a very, very succinct argument that basically evolved around the fact that there's not that much difference thematically between the story of Pokemon and what Quentin Tarantino was trying to do in Django Unchained. But you have to listen to last week's episode because I don't want to spend too much time about it, but it's very convincing. Okay. Hey, Paul, this is one that's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, here we go.
Halo Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
Still broken.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, this game was supposed to be the game that was going to make me buy a 1. And I knew that 343, I don't trust them.
No.
As a company. Look, I'm sure that they could do great things, but they need a lot of time. They need heaps of power.
Did you watch Nightfall?
No, I didn't. No, I don't want to spoil or, make that story all sort of poison for me. It's sort of dead. You got games today. I really want to see how they play play out for about 2 to 3 weeks just before I really started to get into them, or how they are. And I thought, okay, I'll wait probably like 10 to 14 days, and I'll see how people from our country are getting on, because I don't know, when it comes down to online experiences, everyone in England and America is saying, oh no, there's no such thing as lag with next gen. When it comes down to Australians, like we all know that you shoot and sort of goes on.
Internet connection's not shit; it's shit. Yeah, they really got to fix that infrastructure. We wouldn't complain.
Yeah, and then I just thought I would wait for that. And then when it comes down to certain blogs that I read, they're pretty harsh and all sort of like they're just really disgusting people like I am. They are cynics, And I thought, okay, well they say it's bad, so they say that it just doesn't work. You get put into teams. Sometimes if there's like a 10-player playlist, you have teams that are like 3v7, 4v6. So like the basic team balancing doesn't work. And I thought, well, no, that's probably just like they probably have one game like that, and they think, oh, it happens all the time.
What was that video of the guys that they were waiting to get into the match, and it was a round, so it was 10 players in the round, and it was 2v8?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And then it auto-corrected to 6v4?
Yeah, so it didn't make it any better, yeah.
The math is amazing.
So then I went to the forums that, where heaps of people go to. Not going to name drop here. But they had the exact same they had the exact same viewpoint, and this was people from all across the world and stuff, and they even had some problems not with online, but even with campaign. Apparently, even there were certain checkpoints that weren't going on. There were certain stages that they completed that didn't say that they completed, even though they actually had the save game. And
that's what happened to me. I started playing through the levels, and I came back like a day later, and it made me restart the level. And I'm like, I don't want to do this.
And there actually were two parties in this. There were people who just saw it for what it was, or like probably three. There was people who did want this to fail, like which is a part of me. Like I wanted it to fail just a little bit, and then there's like main people who see it for what it is, and then there's these very, very small groups.
Why do you hate fun?
I just don't like 343.
Right. So
I
you just
don't like their company. Yeah.
You just wanted them to prove you right.
Well, like it took me 3 minutes to hold that on the lead, but no, I don't like the company. When it comes down to what I did with Halo 4. Reach, when they changed up the playlist, when they got in charge of it, I think they were in charge of it for a little bit.
We had this conversation in our first episode. What's your favourite Halo game?
Campaign, Halo 1.
Interesting.
Online.
Peaked early for you.
Online. Look, I kind of want to say 2, even though I did have the resources to play it a whole lot, but I'll say the one that I invested the most time in was 3.
Yeah.
And I'm probably most, when it comes down to my best, I'm probably going to have more fun playing that one. So,
see, for me,
first for campaign, 3 for multiplayer.
It's just because a lot of people got onto it. Got onto Halo 3, got onto Xbox Live and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Of course.
I'd go with 2. I'd honestly go with 2, because 2, when you had it in like that SWAT mode, essentially they ended up making a mode for it. What we used to do with our mates anyway, which basically get rid of all the shields and whatnot and just use human weapons.
And with Zach's place.
And that was just...
I do remember...
I've been trying to hide those memories, but no, they just keep popping it back up. Yeah.
Like when we had those like 3 TVs spread across that like one of the house. And
I do.
It's great, yeah. And of course, like you can't do that anymore because I mean, most companies they sort of want to force you to be online. Like,
it's not just that you can't do that these days because like you ask your friends to come over and do a LAN and they look at you like, what are you, fucking crazy?
I know, yeah, exactly.
Well, no, we did that. What, Halo Reach?
Would have been Battlefield was probably the most recent one.
No, when we actually did the LAN, we set up 4 TVs in here.
When we all got Reach, yeah.
Yeah, and we...
Spartan Ops, I believe it was.
No, it was a cooperative campaign.
No, it was definitely Reach. We did the whole... It was... You... Because I borrowed your Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was Chris, Zach, you and me, and we set up TVs in each corner. You can't see it, it's a radio, but in each corner of the room we set up...
It's a pretty big room. It's 4 TVs in different directions.
And then my friend from online came home drunk and he entered in the party and he started like screaming random shit at us. Do you remember that? He's like, get online, you can't. and it just went throughout the entire room and stuff. And it was great chatter for the battle to happen. Yeah,
it does make it more enjoyable. You did wake up. But
just go back to 343 in those groups. Yeah, so there's one small group that wanted to fail, one huge group that saw the game for what it was. They're saying, we would like this to happen, but you really have to sort yourselves out. And then there was just this little group of people who said, no, the next update is going to fix everything. Trust me. I'm basing it on nothing. I want this so bad that's going to happen. And these people, like, they really try and pander to everyone around them, saying, no, like, please stick with it. Please just stick with it.
And there's sort of the kind of people, every time it lags, they just close their eyes so they can't see the lag.
Exactly. And they'll just take a game and they will just love it to death, even though it, like, shits on them all the time, you know. And
speaking of games shitting on us that we give money to, Battlefield.
I was about to be like, how you going, EA?
Oh, just segue. That was a natural segue.
Yeah, I'll give that a 10.
We didn't wait multiple months for that game to work on either console. Yeah. That wasn't destroyed or ruined and
we literally
paid so much money for.
Traded in our
You didn't get sued or anything for that?
No, we legit, like, you know, got Battlefield Premium. Why did we buy that? Like, alright, so it's good in the long run, when I mean long run at the end of the game cycle. But
season pass sort of deals are tricky, you know, because you're sort of putting down money for a product that you don't really know a whole lot about.
Yeah.
That's so...
And it's not the greatest. You know, Battlefield 3 had a bit of problems here and there, but they really sorted their shit out much faster than Battlefield 4, and I think that the end product of Battlefield 3 was seamless as well. Battlefield 4, still to this day, you can jump on, you'll still have problems.
It's still aggravating. I've had rage quits from like lag and from like microsecond delays.
And honestly, like I'm pretty laid back with this stuff. I could probably go online, have a couple lag here and there, and I'll be like, look, whatever. There's 64 players on there, whatever. But not when it's just ridiculous. When you end up, you know, flying a helicopter full of people, and all of a sudden you're on upside down, smashing into a building because you don't even know what just occurred. Yeah. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And no one knows they're all catching up. Then you're like, guys, fix your game. Like
the worst one for me is still when it's like the ones are the 0.5 second lag. So when you both start shooting at each other at the same time and you're dead before they're dead, but you have a higher rate of fire and your gun does more damage. Yeah. And there's absolutely no reason why mathematically you should be alive and they should be dead.
Yeah.
But now moving into Battlefield Hardline, which is coming out at the end of this month. I have mixed feelings about Hardline because I know
they did push the game back.
They did push it back.
Which might mean that it will work a little bit better than before.
And apparently the beta got received really well, and like the YouTube gamers like Level Cap and Matimo and those guys were really into it. But what they're doing is they're now requiring a pre-order in order to get access to all of the content. So unless you buy the special edition at launch, you're not going to have nearly the same amount of content as someone who buys the standard edition.
I mean, no offense, but Battlefield is quite literally known as being a game where you can kind of be in front of people by purchasing, you know, store items, whatever. You buy the game now, for instance, and you could buy all the unlocks, basically, except for the level ones, which obviously you have to level up to get. But you could have all the unlocks of the vehicles and whatnot. So there's a bit of an imbalance, and I love that imbalance because they know that people are going to pay for it. But it's a bit sad to see a game that, you know, requires a lot of skill and teamwork is brought down by these things. But, you know, it's where we are at the moment. So,
are you going to get Hardline?
I'll get Hardline because I know it's going to be a cooperative shooter, which I'm going to want to excel at, and I like just to be good at games like that, I suppose. But it's not like an MMO for me. I couldn't do that. But yeah, I will get Hardline definitely.
What are you, Paul? Are you going to get an Xbox One or a PS4?
I suppose. When it comes down to the people that I know, that I still actually talk to, that I met on Xbox, not actually on the console when it comes down to, you know, phone and text and all that, they were on the 360 and they transferred over to the One. So I'll probably just get that, practically, you know, just because I actually know people who played a lot and I'm going to get into games and make parties, like, just all the much more simpler. But when I actually get one, I think the next game that really piqued my interest was Star Wars Battlefront 3. I saw that as like the next game that would sort of actually make me buy a system, because I know like it's pretty much
done by DICE.
I know, yeah. So they say it's going to be like this, just with the Star Wars skin, you know. And I actually just put my stats here, like I want to see. I did not get into the fourth Battlefield, but when it comes down to Battlefield 3, like, those are my stats right there. I played quite a bit when it comes down to the game time, 220 hours. So that's not too bad. Yeah. Like those are my stats and stuff.
That's
and
solid.
I absolutely enjoyed that game, and I picked up the fourth. Yeah, and then I picked up the fourth Battlefield. And I even picked that up 7 months after it came out. I remember it came out October 2013. I bought it May 2014, and I bought a gold trial because I was out of gold by that time. And I bought that to play it. And I noticed that people spoke about problems, and it did have those problems, but I played through it, but it just didn't feel as good as the third Battlefield.
The 360 version of it was such a vanilla. Like, it was so underpowered compared to
so dumbed down,
Yeah.
Shit. Basically, it wasn't worth buying if you wanted to
Even so, but...
Yeah,
even so, from that, like, I sort of did like the feel of it, but when I would like shoot and like, you know, sort of walk around, it just it didn't feel great. It didn't feel great, and I doubt even if I played it on a PS4 or a One, it just wouldn't have that same feeling that I got when I first played the third Battlefield. You know, so
Battlefield 4 now is moving very much towards the Battlefield 3 method. I reckon it's close to being on par at the moment.
Yes.
If not, it might even be better in that sense. But the thing is, depending on the maps, really, it comes down to the maps. Especially the newer the map, you get the problems of like objects that you've never known you get stuck on and stupid shit, because they've always had that problem.
Well, I think you should get a PS4 and play with us.
Yeah, that would be the most logical.
That's obviously what you should do.
And let's be honest, if you just might as well just get a PS4,
the worst sales pitch I've ever had. You know?
Stop trying to corrupt him, okay?
I'll do the sales pitch. Well, if you get Hardline, then you can start cooperatively and play team.
Although Hardline's a game that I'm not really interested in, I guess. Like, I really don't mind the idea when it comes down to cops and robbers.
I think the real thing is you just don't want to spend time with us.
It's just,
That makes sense.
I will say though, I've got an Xbox. You mentioned before that you want to get an Xbox One so you can sort of party up with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Oh.
Party system is still absolutely broken on Xbox.
Oh, okay, because I kind of assumed that you can't screw that up.
No.
Yeah, they did.
Here's what they did. They took the Xbox 360 and okay, we got our online features pretty good with the Xbox 360, and the party feature everyone loved, and we got it working really well. Let's not use any of that.
No, let's change it. Let's just try and do something completely different, and then realise that was the dumbest idea I've ever thought about. And then let's not fix it and go back to it. Let's keep trying to fuck around with it.
Yeah.
What do you do? I give him points for trying stuff, but when something doesn't work, go back to what you know does work. Same thing applied with Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3.
I reckon they're gonna update the dashboard. I reckon with the release of Windows 10.
Oh, well, the best thing is we always know we think, we hope, we.
Yeah.
As gamers, you forever hope.
I think they have teased that they are going to update the dashboard with Windows 10 release there.
I will let everyone know that we are currently getting recorded by Reese, who is walking around us and taking fabulous photos of our chins and whatnot.
That's what I do. It's for my scrapbook.
Was the cat involved? The cat,
300 pages thick. Yeah.
Look at that look. I don't think it wants to be involved, to be honest.
Oh, by the way,
it's
a pen around here.
It's a she.
Messy.
Alright, so speaking of violence, we won't, but whatever.
There you go.
Okay, so the new Batman game.
The Russian judge gives that a 5.
He's a good guy.
Okay.
He's violent.
So the new Batman game, Batman Arkham Knight, has been given the most violent rating of any Batman product ever.
Amazing.
That's in America, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
It hasn't been classified by Australia just yet.
No, it's based on in America. It's now classified as more violent than any of the Nolan movies.
Yeah. In America, the Batman games usually get a T for teen rating.
This is 13.
Which is, this time it's gotten an M rating, which for Australia, that's the equivalent of an R18 rating.
Yeah.
Big question.
And then even to get under our R ratings, it might still be cut back or just a little bit censored.
That should be fine now.
That is still the biggest load of shit ever. Yeah. They brought in an R rating so they could give these games the proper rating, and now they're still being censored or still being blocked.
It sort of seems like that. Like, I can't actually quote one game or actually bring up one, but I still sort of think that it may be happening. Like, if it actually does come to happen,
South Park Stick of Truth.
Yeah, but
really,
basically,
that got an R rating and it still got censored.
Oh, okay.
And Saints Row got censored.
Saints Row 4?
Yeah. Basically, the only time it will censor is if someone is anally raped. That is like providing a game doesn't have anal rape or anything to do with anal rape.
Not anal rape. It's just
forced sodomy.
Sexual assault.
No, sexual assault's fine, provided it's within the context of the game. They're okay with sexual assault
because they sort of had the thing in Tomb Raider where she was about to be sort of. They
don't describe it as sexual assault. They don't describe it as sexual violence.
But GTA 5 managed to get away with, and that game has lots of sexual violence.
Yeah, true.
It basically is literally if the game has anything that does like anal rape, they just will not allow it
unless they get the right amount of money from the dev.
No, it doesn't matter how much the dev tries to bribe him with.
I don't know what everyone's got against anal guys, but just get
So how do you guys feel about a really dark, violent Batman game? Is everyone getting Arkham Knight?
Now, 100% getting. My question is, violence does not necessarily make a plot darker, deeper, more interesting. Violence can sometimes just be a very poor excuse for making shit very disgusting and over the top and whatever. Not that I mind any gore whatsoever, but sometimes the violence has to be put in context and being good. I really hope that if they do make a very violent Batman game, it's not for the sake of being like, we're trying to be dark, but we're not actually doing anything. We're just being violent. So I very much hope that the violence that is in the game is in context and is definitely a storyline thing, not just because.
Well, the response quote from Rocksteady was that they were actually shocked that the game received that rating because that wasn't what they were intending for when they made it. But then they decided that they didn't want to alter the violence level or alter the narrative because they didn't want to, demean what they created.
Yeah, because, by all means, they've made some...
I mean, they're still trying to stick with the fact that Batman doesn't actually kill people. He just
He
just incapacitates his enemies. But in this game, you can literally run over people with the Batmobile.
Yeah, that incapacitates them. Don't worry about it. The speed means nothing. It's not a factor. Remove physics from the game. Don't worry, guys.
It's like, I didn't kill you, the ground did.
Yeah. Let's be honest, it wasn't the hit of the car. It was
Newton. It was laws of physics.
It wasn't the car hitting you, it was your skull hitting the ground.
See, Batman's car is angled in such a way where every time he hits someone at whatever speed, it only incapacitates.
Yeah.
This may be a lie.
Alrighty, so about a week ago, IGN brought out their top list of 25 Xbox 360 games. And I figured since that we all have 360s, I was going to run over this list and we'll see what you guys think. So, starting at number 25, South Park: The Stick of Truth. So this is all-time greatest Xbox 360 game.
Is this just a list of 25, or is this
the all-time? If you got a 360 today and you had
but is this them saying these are the 25 best games, or is this the 25 best games in order?
In order.
Okay.
I didn't see that much truth though.
Yes, in order. I'm just judging
number 25 then. Okay.
So number 25 we have South Park: The Stick of Truth, which I happen to love when I play.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. It had some small issues when it first came out, but not enough to keep people from playing the game.
No, of course not. I think it might be a high rating, but to be honest, I can't name 24 games right now that actually beat it. I would need a list.
I have a list right in front of me.
Well, yeah, of course, but there's going to be one that's not going to be better than it.
Some of
these going to be games that are probably going to be left out, in my opinion.
Some of these are a cop out though because they're not full release games.
Oh, yeah, arcades as well?
Yeah.
Wait, no, that's just insulting to South Park. That's the case.
That's the thing. Is some arcade games are quite large in comparison. They're quite big games, but then some of them are just the same thing, repetitive, really.
I actually agree with this. This is a fairly solid list. No, wait, there's one I drastically disagree with, but we'll get to that. Okay. All right, so number 24 is...
Assuming it's Forza.
No, that's fine. Number 24 is Fez.
That's quite possibly one of the worst games ever created.
I
never played it.
It's just a terrible platform. There is nothing new. I paid
$10 for it, and I played about an hour of it and got sick of it.
I mean, look,
Phil Fish got your money.
Well, look, even if the bloke was the nicest person and he didn't attack journalists online and tell people at a award show to choke on his dick and gave money to cancer foundations.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not sugarcoat it. If the guy wasn't a cunt.
Yeah. Look, it doesn't matter how great the guy was. It would not have made the game any better. I'm sorry. The game's just terrible.
I like the Rooster Teeth guys at PAX. They're talking about most overrated games, and they're like, "Yeah, it was Fez." And they look at the camera and they're like, "Fuck you." Alright, so
wait, who said that?
The Rooster Teeth guys.
This is already a terrible list.
Alright, number 20.
Can't get worse though, right?
Number 23, Minecraft.
Oh Jesus!
Okay, let's Minecraft. Give it merits for what it does. And
Minecraft is a great game. Not so much on the 360 though.
You could make an argument that Minecraft is the second most successful game on this list.
Very.
Yeah,
in fact, I would even say that Minecraft is the most successful game on this list.
It's the second most successful game of all time, isn't it? It'd be the first most successful if we weren't counting Wii Sports. I really don't.
It's probably one of the best examples of something not so great that's gotten a lot of money. I think for how good something is, it's made a lot of money.
I gotta say, it's really addictive.
It's one of those things, like, seriously, if we're talking about
I didn't mind the game when it came out on the PC. When it was like,
I'm trying to gauge how many I can have.
That's the whole thing with Minecraft. You'd
really
start playing it.
Yeah.
You'd start playing it, and then you'd get hooked on it, and then you'd look at the clock and it's like, oh wow, it's 6 a.m. I've been playing Minecraft for 12 hours straight. I should really I should really get food and maybe sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like just do those things that actually make me keep breathing. Yeah. I know.
If you're a creative person, Minecraft is definitely a game for you. But the thing is, it's one of those games that when you start playing, when you first get into it, you're like, I can't be bothered with any of this. But you spend a couple of hours, and then you're like, you know what, this is a bit of fun. And I think with Xbox, they added a cooperative element to it where you could play together.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't played
it's online and stuff.
So it's interesting. It's very interesting how they've made the game so small, it's so big.
It's great in what it does. Like, I don't think it should be on any top lists, but it's a very successful game. Like,
I agree with that. It's a very successful game, but I wouldn't call it.
That's where the list is.
I wouldn't call it one of the top 25 Xbox 360
ridiculously games. Jealous of the people who made that game. They just don't need to work anymore.
I'm not jealous. I'm not happy for them.
Not the creator.
Oh, actually, he
sold it to Microsoft for what? 2.5 billion?
3.1 in the end, I think.
Just chump change. Nothing
much. I mean, him and the two co-creators, he took the lion's share of the 3.1 billion or whatever. I think he ended up with 2.2 or 2.5 billion.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah.
And also he got taxed on
so
that.
he can afford his shopping at the end of the week. He's all right.
But the scary thing about
he bought an $85 million mansion in Los Angeles.
And he had that party where, like, I think people like Los Angeles Stars came around. Like, I think it might have been like Drake and stuff. And all that. They came around. Like, I doubt that they even know who the guy was. Like,
I mean, he outbid or he beat Beyonce and Jay-Z to getting the house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What?
Beyonce and Jay-Z were looking at getting the same house and then not beat them to it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, seriously, that's not someone you want to fuck with. It's just because, like, literally, I just put my hand out to Jay-Z. It's amazing.
But just on that, like, they spent on that money.
That was a bit.
They probably actually will turn some kind of profit now that they own the franchise. If they take it in the direction.
They're gonna...
Which is scary because you paid that much for a franchise. You know, I think, like, the beta came out in 2010, maybe? So,
earlier.
Yeah,
Earlier.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It came out in about...
It's an old game.
The alpha came out in about 2007, 2008.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
That's not bad for Asia's work.
Yeah.
All right, now the next one, number 22, is exceptionally controversial, and I think it's flat out wrong. Gears of War 3.
Not the best game of the Gears of War trilogy.
Yeah, not even the best Gears of War. No.
Gears of War 1 is better, I'd say.
That's actually the best console online game I've played, even beating Halo. Like, I'll say that right now, to me.
Gears of War 1 was fucking difficult as well.
It was the most bug-ridden, terrible game online. It was such a mess. It had all these glitches. You could do kung fu flips. You could, go in and out of the map pretty easily. Shooting was like a little bit random. Like, you get taken out with a lens with 8 shots sometimes 10 or 12. But it was by far the most funnest experience I've ever had with my 360. It's actually probably the best Xbox 360 game, just because of that. Right?
That's going to be the tagline to this episode: the most funnest experience.
Yeah, that's it.
Forza 4. I'm not really a huge racing game.
Yeah,
person.
I've sort of dropped off cars. I've played Forza 2. That was the last one from the actual Forza series. Yeah.
I've got nothing against the series. I'm just not a huge racing game fan since. I think the last one I played was Need for Speed Underground 2 or something like that. That was a great game.
Yeah. That was very entertaining.
I mean, I can come in onto this one. Forza 4 is arguably, I reckon Forza is the best racing simulation game you'll ever find.
Yeah, it's definitely overtaken Gran Turismo.
Yeah, Gran Turismo has just got to stick up its ass and it's always trying to appease the same thing.
It is, yeah. Like the first time I played on the first Xbox was fantastic.
Yeah, but Gran Turismo on the PS3 is the second highest selling game of the
generation. That's the problem with Gran Turismo, though. They've gotten to a point where they don't want to change too much because they don't want to piss off their fan base.
Yeah, and now I think they're trying to take some changes because they realise, well, they've got such a fan base anyway. They might as well take some risks here and there. But what it is PlayStation had the racing car simulation before Xbox even tried. They already had 3 or 4 games out by that point.
Yeah, that's right. Because
Project Gotham Racing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know,
that's
that's
that game,
nothing on,
because when GT3 came around, I don't think the Xbox was out by then. I don't think, or it might have just came out around there. But it had already established itself as a franchise, and the only competition it had at the time was the Nintendo 64, and that had no car game that could compare to the GT3.
Mario Kart.
So, which was fun in its own right. Definitely.
Mario Kart is the best racing game of all time.
But those two franchises, like, they obviously aren't comparable.
Sorry, no. Let me replace that. It's the best party racing.
Shut your whole mouth because I said so.
No. Actually, what would we say? What is the best car game you've ever played? Because I'm not even saying simulator.
I would say
it's really why this is the best car racing game on the Xbox. That was the original.
Yeah, no, but we're going all consoles. I would go so far as to say that Mario Kart 64 is the best party racing game, possibly the best racing game.
Okay. Paul?
Well, I'd say the best one from the Mario Kart franchise was the first one on Wii. Even the new one, I still like the first Mario Kart that brought out there. But the best racing game, just have fun. Probably the first game in the series that we're talking about when it comes down to Forza 1. I spent hours on that. It was perfect enough, and even though it wasn't completely great in how you could tune your cars and all that, it definitely didn't have the exact amount of detail when it comes down to 2 or 3, 4.
Had enough.
It did. It wasn't too much, too involving of a game, and that was fine for me. So that's my favourite. It's probably not the greatest, but it's my favourite, which does make it the best. But it's but when it goes down to the 4 series, I do like the game that came out after 4, the one where you have the world open. What was that called?
Horizon.
That is actually probably the greatest game in terms of how cars handle and how everything is. That's actually probably the best experience to drive in.
Perfect combination of an arcade / simulation, where they actually got a bit of everything happening at once. And
is this number 1 you're talking about?
Yeah, Horizon.
Because I've heard that 2 is topped.
Yeah, 2
came out 6 months ago.
Yeah. Oh wow!
I heard it.
I heard about it, but I didn't.
Well, they're talking about that on the IGN racing reviewer guy Luke Riley was saying that Forza Horizon 2 is one of the most critically acclaimed racing games ever, but it just dropped off the radar. It came out, was out for about 3 weeks, and then 2 other racing games came out. It just overshadowed it.
It would have been Crew, and it would have been
the one that didn't work.
Crew and
Drive Club.
Yeah, Drive Club. That didn't work when it came out.
I think Crew even was very.
Moving on, number 20, we've got Rayman Legends.
Ubisoft platform, not really my
Haven't played it.
Very challenging game.
Love Ubisoft, but.
I haven't played it, so I think
that might be the Rayman I'm thinking of, but
number 19, Shadow Complex.
Haven't played it. Heard it's a pretty good game. That really wasn't.
I don't even remember this game.
Apparently, it came out in about 2008. It was one of the early XBLA games that was really critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
It was a Castlevania, a modern Castlevania.
Actually,
game.
I think it might have been the first arcade game to be over 150 meg or something. It was the first one where Microsoft actually had to change when it comes down to how they store their data in the XBLA. They actually had to allow more space.
Because they had
for that, and they had to change around their framework, I think, or something.
They had that XBLA Summer, which was Summer of Arcade, which was this game, and it was the Mega Man remake, remastering of Mega Man, and a couple of others, Braid, as well. It was during that period of really high quality indie games.
Yeah, Shadow Complex. Although I don't think it was sort of built for when it comes down to gamers. I suppose, in this part of the world, when it comes down to the West, I think it probably appealed more to the Japanese audience. I might be getting that confused with another game, but
the thing with Shadow Complex is that the reason why it's controversial is because it's based on a series of books by a guy who's a notorious racist.
Really?
if we had him on this podcast, he would just want to talk about slavery.
Almost seamlessly.
So he's like you.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that there are similarities between accepted pop culture and slavery that people choose to ignore.
At number 18, we've got Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1,
which I will say is one of the best games ever made. If I had to do a list of my top 5, that would be on there.
I have played it. I can't really offer my opinion, though, because I played it on my laptop when it was dying, so it was lagging a shitload.
Dramatic because the laptop was dying.
My laptop was a piece of shit at this time.
Why are you stuttering so much?
My laptop was a piece of shit at this time. Overheating, the game would just freeze at the worst moments.
But to be fair, the game also did that normally, and I was playing on a really powerful PC. Did you guys play any of the Telltale stuff, Paul?
Yes, I did play the first part of it. Look, I'll say it was a great experience.
Too many black people?
No.
We love black people this week, guys.
Please don't hunt us down.
It sort of is like funny what people consider to be a game nowadays. Like,
Interesting.
this is more like
You don't like the
sort of
episodic
would
thing?
think that like that's great, but I sort of do think that a game like this is that it's sort of more considered to be people who actually don't make games, but instead to be something like art. And that's actually been one huge thing that I sort of actually did want to talk about on this podcast if I could get the chance. Especially
you want to talk
we
about
can
that?
avoid we can avoid this.
Like we'll sort of just go after this. But I'd say that this game was probably more influenced by a team who wanted to create some art instead of to actually create a game. Because there's actually really no gameplay, so to speak, in a way. You make choices, you go on a story. It's sort of like a choose like your own adventure.
It's an interactive narrative.
And it's great. It's a fantastic game. It's just built well. It's built very well. But
And it's storytelling.
to call it a game, for me, it's a bit much.
Okay, well,
it's
all right. Well, similar argument. A game that came out last year called Gone Home, which I think is one of the greatest gameplay experiences I've ever had.
Okay.
Have you played Gone Home?
Yeah, a little bit. I couldn't get through it.
And we might...
It was boring.
Yeah.
I was to say that. Yeah.
And we might just put it out there that, alright, so Paul's not a huge fan of the narrative gameplay, and Reese, on the other end,
When they're
is
done
a massive
well,
fan.
Paul's waiting for his
fantastic.
chainsaw lance to come out so he can cut someone in half.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, so just to counterpoint it, I would actually say that I think it's amazing that a company like Telltale is actually being successful and that they managed to create something like The Walking Dead. Because in 2012, Mass Effect 3 came out, which is the sequel to my all-time favorite game.
That is amazing.
And The Walking Dead came out. Both of those games were narrative-focused RPGs, essentially, where your choices affected the final outcome. In hindsight, some more than others, but ultimately those were two games where it was your choices affected the narrative. And when I was thinking about it at the end of 2012, I had to actually give it to Telltale's The Walking Dead, because in that 5 episodes of 15 hours of gameplay, 10 to 15 hours of gameplay, I felt more than I'd ever felt for a game previously. Yeah. And that's what I loved about something like Gone Home, which was the game was a beautiful combination of atmosphere, pacing, and narrative. And when you play the game and you're absorbed into it, lights out, just surround sound going, and you start off thinking that it's a horror game, you start thinking this is a haunted house, but then as you progress through the rooms and you uncover the secrets of what happened, you realise that the entire atmosphere and the tone of the game gradually changes as you explore. Yeah. I think that is incredible.
Yeah, so it's not like a scary, it's overall like a pretty sad story.
It was a happy story, but
I'm not afraid to admit that The Walking Dead. I'm not afraid to admit that The Walking Dead had me really attached to some of those characters. I was a mess at the end of the film.
I nearly cried.
Yeah.
I was actually teary. I remember I was playing it on a plane. I was flying back from Europe. I was playing it on my iPad, and I was trying not to cry before we landed.
Well, I'm the one who has no emotion, so I should probably play this game. I actually own it. I just haven't played it.
I bought it for you.
I don't. Maybe.
Well, I bought it.
It was a sign, guys. Yeah.
I bought it 5 times on Steam during the sales, and just gave it to everyone.
Yeah. Then. So go on. Go on.
There's just one more game that also fits into that I don't consider a game, but I love. It's a game that you showed me. It was a game that they made on Source and they released. The
Stanley's Parable?
Yes, that's the game.
I adore that game.
Which I love. I spent days trying to get all the endings and, trying everywhere. And it really does make you think, there's one of the endings where you don't do anything. You have to stay in your actual room and stuff.
You're just waiting for half an hour.
Yeah, and then of course that bloke just goes off on a tangent saying, you're a huge pussy, you don't get out there and explore the world and everything. And I thought that's seriously great, if someone puts in the time to do that stuff. And then there was that flaming baby one, you had to do that for 2 hours. Yeah, I just saw the thing on YouTube. I really couldn't,
Yeah.
But not make a baby go into the fire because putting a baby on fire is alright.
But the important thing about that game is that
behaviour.
We currently are the industry that we're fans of are at a state where you can have something like Stanley's Parable and you can put it up against something like the latest Call of Duty.
Yeah,
both those games are first-person interactive games. Both of them are extraordinarily good in their own way.
Yeah.
And both of them appeal to the audiences that they're aiming to appeal at, and you can both buy them from the same store.
Yeah.
Like, that is just amazing, is that you can have these radically different experiences, and they can coexist perfectly.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the big companies that want to make games like this, and then one of them costs them $50,000, the other one costs $2 million.
Yeah.
And they both can be as equally successful in their rights of selling the same, but one is just going to make stacks more money. And give them points for that. But at the same time, it's like it's going to be much harder for big companies to make big games and want to do some very different stuff with their games and not get away from their very simple formulas that tend to work, and don't try anything radically different, because if they do, it can cost them too much and it's not worth to lose that much money, so therefore they're going to keep coming out with the same stuff.
That's why,
going on with coming out with the same stuff.
but just quickly, one sec, just going back to Raymond. Wait, no, it's alright. It's okay.
That was a good segue.
Yeah, that was actually alright.
That was good.
I'm amazing.
God damn it, Reese.
I know. But that actually, what Nick just said actually goes back to something like Rayman Legends, which was a Ubisoft game that was a side project, and which is similar to what they were doing with Valiant Hearts and with Child of Light. They've been doing all these really sort of indie, side-scrolling, like, type, 2D type games, and they've been selling them at the same level that they sell Assassin's Creed. And so they'll spend $150, $200 million on Assassin's Creed, and then they'll spend $15 million on something like Valiant Hearts.
Valiant Hearts, that game is fantastic.
That's a brilliant game, yeah.
Yeah,
I was fucking bawling at the end of that game.
Alright, so moving on. Okay, now...
Number
Same thing over again.
Number 17,
Just
we've got
Eddie, so.
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which, yes, being the fourth game in the franchise, obviously they...
It wasn't the fourth game in the franchise.
Oh, the fourth number game in the
It's
franchise.
about the seventh game in the franchise.
Arguably, it was the first one to really kick off the whole Call of Duty craze.
420 no scope.
Because after Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 1 came out, that started off the yearly cycle for Call of Duty.
Yeah, and sort of that template that most online shooters want to copy or
No,
sort of add their own little twist to it.
The yearly cycle started off with Call of Duty 2, because Call of Duty 2 was 2006, Call of Duty... No, 2005. Call of Duty 3 was
2006 when the 360 came out.
Call of Duty 3 was 2006. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 1 was 2007.
And Call of Duty...
So it started off the yearly thing in 2005.
Call of Duty 2 and 3 were great games, but Call of Duty 4 was what really put it on the radar.
I mean, Call of Duty 3 is my favourite Call of Duty.
I was going to say, be careful about Call of Duty 3.
Yeah, that's a touchy. That was my moment.
They are fantastic games,
Call of
but
Duty 3
Call of Duty 4 really put it on the radar. I mean, all the Call of Duty 3 players came over, but Call of Duty 4 brought in a whole new...
Call of Duty 4 made a simplistic formula which everyone tended to follow. You had 3 which had a lot of different vehicles, you had a lot going on, and it was almost like a Battlefield of Call of Duty.
See, I actually disagree with that, Nick. I would say that Call of Duty revolutionised the first-person shooter genre.
I agree with you.
Call of Duty 4, sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. But what I'm saying is, it revolutionised by making it...
word, because you're sort of giving the implication that it made first-person shooters better.
It did.
Well, no.
Okay, no.
Not really. It sort of dumped them down.
No, okay.
Yeah,
I'm really took the speed out of it. Like the whole idea of sprinting to go faster.
No. I'm not talking about from like the actual mechanics for interacting first-person shooter, but on a competitive level. Because Call of Duty 4 introduced preload classes, and it introduced perks, and it introduced the kill streaks.
Counter-Strike, what?
Counter-Strike didn't really have, like, get 10 kills.
You'd spawn in and you just buy your guns, whereas this one had the...
You could have a preload.
You could have a preload thing, but what I'm talking about more is, like, the kill streaks and the unlock perks and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And Call of Duty 4 was the first game to introduce that onto the consoles, and arguably you could say into the mainstream first-person shooter genre. Yeah. And literally everything since then has been a copy of it, even Battlefield.
Oh, Battlefield 2. Battlefield before that.
Even Halo tried to dabble, has dabbled in it now as well.
Battlefield did that console, but it had
Reach was horrible online gameplay. I hated multiplayer for Reach so much.
I didn't mind it.
I wasn't. But
it sort of helps when
Halo died for me. It was like a dream.
Yeah,
Halo really died for me with Reach. I still love the campaigns, but Halo multiplayer after Halo 3 has just been terrible.
Alright, so back to COD. Do you guys agree that Modern Warfare is the best Call of Duty?
That was my favourite online experience, so yes.
Yes, Call of Duty 4 is my favourite Call of Duty.
I could see why people will put it as the best, yeah.
It is probably the best online experience, and it had a fantastically strong single-player campaign as well.
Yeah, see, I agree. Call of Duty 3 was my favourite, but I would say that Call of Duty 4 is the best.
Yeah.
Like, that is the only one that if I had the choice of replaying one campaign, it would be Modern Warfare 1.
Yeah.
I guarantee you
Modern
now
Warfare
that
1.
Yeah.
If we had a player base,
If I had to choose,
now on a computer, on a console, whatever, playing online on Call of Duty 4, you'd have fun.
Yeah,
and
but
what would you say is your favourite mission?
It doesn't take long.
Do you have a favourite mission from?
The obvious answer was Billy's in the Mist. Billy's in the Mist.
Or Gillied Up, yeah.
That is like one of the greatest first-person shooter missions of all time.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I don't recall.
It's the one where you have to sneak. And you're in
I know what it's about.
It probably was pretty good because it was new at the time. Like, I don't think anyone who played a console game really sort of did something like that. Like, that was sort of for the PC crowd, like, because
Kotaku did a review of that level about 6 months ago, and when they went back and they replayed it, and they sort of did an analysis, and like they basically said, like, objectively, it is the greatest single level, purely because it doesn't hold your hand.
Yeah.
And you can,
It does and it doesn't.
But the thing is that, like, the example, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but basically I would just say that, like, that was the first time I remember playing a level where I didn't want to shoot my gun.
Yeah.
Like, it was the first-person shooter where I'd gone from, like, blazing away and killing all, like, the non-white people to not wanting to
killing
shoot
all
a
the
gun.
brown people.
Basically. All right, so we'll do the next 3 of them. So we've got 16 is Mark of the Ninja, which I've never got around to playing.
I've never even heard of it, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither.
I think I played a little bit.
I have it on my Steam account. I bought it for like $3. I've never played it.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun game. I can't say I've talked about it too much. I only played about half an hour of it. It's just one of those games you pick up.
What is it?
Side-scroller stealth game.
Yeah, it's side-scroller stealth.
Okay.
It's got some really fun elements to it. It's actually quite addictive, but it's, again, one of those games that when you have too much in your library, you just kind of play it for a little bit.
Now, 15 is Limbo, which is a game that I bought on Xbox. I have it on PlayStation, and on my Vita, and I have it on my PC, and I've never played it.
Yeah,
I've never played it.
I've never played it, and I got
a game. I'm just trying to recall. Can someone give me a...
It's not too bad. You play as a kid who's in a world...
it's a nightmare world, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. So like, you're sort of dead, but you're not. And... so it's all like that stage, where he's got to traverse through this 2D world, and it's just all like dark and black and white practically, and there's no real sort of things to sort of help you. Like, you sort of have to go through the world, and then if you die, you come back. Yeah, so it's sort of like that, and you sort of have to use the skills that you've done. And there were some people who said it was pretty easy, which made me feel pretty stupid because I found it kind of tough, to be honest. But I'm probably not the best at those sorts of games. But it was a fun experience, yeah. I
can't ever tell off a game that makes you think. I think games that make you think are doing their jobs. Because there's certain games you want to play with a bunch of people where you don't have to think and you can just have fun. I mean, Titanfall, something, blah, whatever. Yeah. I don't even have a game, but it's, again, Call of Duty, it's all the same. You can just jump in, play it, and whatever. The games that make you think are games you remember. Yeah. You don't really remember games that you can play and you don't have to think about, because you might remember an experience you have with other people, but if you're not having it with other people, generally speaking, it's just a pretty mindless game. Yeah. So, yeah.
Although you should play it if you actually do get to it. I think it's a game that you will enjoy.
I've been meaning to play it on my Vita. I was going to do it when I was overseas. I was never in the mindset to actually sit down and do it.
Yeah. Alright,
so next we have arguably the most interesting game that came out last generation, which is Mirror's Edge.
At number 14. Wow. I loved Mirror's Edge. I picked it up late. I picked it up as a pre-owned game or whatever, not expecting much out of it, and I absolutely loved that game.
It's okay.
It's just the fact that I don't know quite how to describe it. It came from the sort of stock where you're expecting a run and gun style game, except without the gun. You're just running and avoiding as much as possible. You don't get a gun till really late in the game.
The thing about Mirror's Edge is
and then even then you're trying to avoid using it. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing about Mirror's Edge is it's the first game to successfully implement first-person parkour, which became something that a lot of other games tried to emulate
and failed pretty badly. Like, there's
Dying Light's apparently meant to be pretty close to it.
Yeah, I heard good things about Dying
Light.
But what, that's come out. How long after this game's come out?
7 years.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Yeah,
and Mirror's Edge is it's probably the most ambitious game that came out.
It seriously also was a good game just to look in and be in, because like just
Beautiful game.
Yeah, like the whole plot is practically like you have to jump on the rooftops and you have to get off when it comes down to parcels and stuff, messages, and you have to get them through because all the information that's sent online is filtered. So like when it comes down to governments, like they read and everything. So that opened up the market of people who would free run over the stuff, and when it comes down to like like all the buildings are white and all you've got is just like like a sky and you've got wires that you've got to go down and
Colourful
run off and jump around.
Yeah, I mean
it was just a really good game to play in. Like that world was very good to play in.
Very creative.
Yeah.
So
All right, number 13, Dark Souls.
that's a fantastic game.
I have it.
I love
I
it.
have it because I got it for free with games with Gold Xbox Live, but I haven't played it.
Arguably the most punishing game you'll ever play.
There should
What do
be
you
more
mean
games
argu-
like
what do you
it.
mean arguably?
Games need to go
Does
in
that
that
mean,
direction. I believe.
I
Like they
think Dark Souls
really
are.
games really like that. Like they should be more of them. Like I think when it comes down to games nowadays, like you've really got to be punished for doing things wrong in games.
There's
Like
a tutorial for
you've
everything.
got to absolutely be punished. And most games don't do that. Like they sort of hold your hand and think, press this button on the screen to win the game. It really punishes you for making bad choices.
Dark Souls
And
punishes you for making choices, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
And you only
it
know when
doesn't-
you fail.
It doesn't really have a tutorial, does it? It sort of just drops you in. It's like, okay, do stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You've got those
Yeah,
things like
no
on the
shit.
ground when it comes down to the markings and you run over them, and that's like
Press this
when you go
button.
through, and that's all it really does and stuff. And when you got the online world, people will like leave stuff, and you
Mostly
can't-
it's
exactly.
just notes on a cliff saying jump.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, of course, if you want to know how to trust those, then you have to try them out and stuff. If they don't, then you know. And of course, most people will do that. Like they'll definitely take advantage of new players saying, "Oh, well, maybe I'll jump, something will happen." No, you'll die. But no, like I actually really enjoyed it, and it definitely should be on that list. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so number 12. We've already sort of covered this, Halo 4.
Okay.
We don't really need to spend too much time on
I
it.
actually forgot about the game.
Yeah.
I literally bought that game, played about, I don't know, half an hour of the campaign and be like, oh, I own Halo 4.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I actually think Halo 4 is the worst of the Halo games.
I don't understand why it's on this list.
I actually don't know the story.
I know
and
why
don't
it's
still
on
care.
I know why it's on the list, but yeah, I think it's the
It was
worst.
a beautiful game, but I actually cared more about how it looked.
It does look amazing.
I just can't quite understand why it's on this list, especially because who made the list? Sorry,
It's IGN. It's
I-
right.
Well,
IGN.
that's understandable.
IGN, yeah, but
Ryan McCaffrey.
yeah, I know, but the thing with IGN is usually they stick to one game per franchise, and Halo 4 should not be on this list.
I
Yeah.
think Halo. Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely
I
put a big
disagree.
3 over 4.
Halo 3 is also on the list,
Oh well, yeah.
which is what confuses me because
Okay, yeah. Well,
sorry,
Halo 4
which
is probably amazing.
which
for a lot of
which
people
is
who
what
gave a
confuses
shit.
me because they usually stick to one game per franchise.
yeah, like the fact that they put together a list and at the end of it they said, okay, we can't think of 10 to 12 games better than Halo 4. That kind of irks me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait, is
Yeah.
Mass Effect on? Oh, I love
We'll-
this.
we'll-
And we're back. Yes,
Well,
Nick, Mass Effect
saying
is on the list.
Mass Effect is on there, and I'm happy, and let's not complain. I'm not.
Okay, moving on
that was
from
a
Halo
good
4.
3-day
because-
break we just had. Yeah, it was,
Moving on from Halo 4 because
Off the
we've,
drugs.
we've bashed it enough
Feels so
already
refreshed.
in about a minute.
Okay, so number 11, we have Batman Arkham City.
Yep.
I totally agree. I think Arkham City is the superb
What's it on?
game.
What number?
Number 11.
11. Well, 11's a lucky number, so I'm cool with that. So that's my reasoning.
Any complaints or anything? Or?
I
I didn't
think
get to
that
play the game a whole lot. Is it the second game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the trilogy?
I have actually.
I played the first one a bit. Played the first one a bit. Huh?
Chronology.
Is it? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's
but
that's
do you
right, yeah.
include Arkham? Not Arkham.
Origins.
I
like
Origins, yeah.
But it's not the same company and stuff. You know what I mean? Like
It's the same brando.
it's a story continuing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a
It's a
prequel.
prequel.
Yeah. Okay.
I liked Origins. It wasn't as good as City or Asylum, but it certainly it did some things really, really well.
Origins was broken a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah. The boss encounters were superb. Because it certainly turned into basically a 2D, like Mortal Kombat style fight game. And that worked out really, really well.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, I think Arkham City is a much stronger game. Arkham City is actually one game I've gone back and tried to restart like 3 times, but I've only got a couple hours into it because of like other stuff has come up. Now, number 10, Bioshock.
I
The
loved.
first one.
Yeah,
I loved Bioshock.
Solid.
It's a solid game.
I was
It's-
stunned. I was
probably the
stunned by
only
the
good
story.
game in the
It's got-
series,
it's got-
in my opinion.
It has got such a fantastic story.
Bit
It's got
basic.
such a
environment.
yeah.
When
The game's way past spoiler territory. So we're going to talk about the ending. It's got
endings.
Yeah, it's got a fantastic ending. Something you weren't expecting at all in the slightest.
There's more than one.
Oh yeah, like there's two main sort of things, isn't there?
There's one ending, but there's sort of two twists.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Yeah.
The game has some serious good storytelling.
I mean,
expect from that game. You just thought, is it there?
Yeah, you go into it thinking it's just going to be some sort of old style shooter, but then it has just this fantastic story.
Yeah. See, I'm going to be a bit controversial here. I actually think Infinite was a better game.
It was.
Bioshock Infinite was also an amazing game. Bioshock Infinite was also an amazing game, but I
felt like a
I like number one.
Like it held my hand through so many things, and I don't know.
Hey, Booker, catch.
Combat was not.
But I actually liked that in the game. Like, I liked that the game was actually, like, instead of me, like, wasting time scrounging for ammo, or instead of me, like, having to look for coins, I literally would just be like, hey, I've done it for you. I'm like, thanks.
But don't you sort of feel better that you've gone that extra step to actually have something, accomplish something?
For me, that breaks it. It's like, almost like, oh my god, I've got to get out of here. We're running, we're being chased. Let me just look in every single drawer and every single bin in this room before we go to the next room. And I liked that you'd be in the middle of combat and you'd be like, shit, I'm running low on this gun. And then all of a sudden you'd be like, hey, I found some ammo. I'm like, thanks, Elizabeth.
Oh my god, I'm running low on health. I better eat this banana I found in the bin.
Well, it's not the game's fault. You're just terrible at shooting.
You should have thought of that before you walked into that room. Search bins.
No, I'm not going to argue with you here, Reese. Bioshock Infinite is a fantastic game, but Bioshock 1... I do believe is better.
I'm going to say Bioshock Infinite is a better story for different reason. It's a beautifully well created area, like world. It's a beautiful game. Bioshock started that off. It gave that element of surprise when it came to a story. It gave that deep story.
See, if I had a Bioshock game that played like Gone Home, that would be my idea of heaven. I would adore the shit out of that experience.
I mean, that's perfect because we have a lot of people that have very different. We have a lot of people here that have.
I'm sorry, Paul. I don't like people bins in my games.
I'm sorry, but I've just got to smile when someone says that. You know, like your best hybrid is Gone Home and Bioshock Infinite. That's great.
Even just standard Bioshock. Okay, you put an Oculus Rift on.
You could definitely enjoy that, okay? Like, you could definitely enjoy that, you know?
End of the day, guys, we all have difference of opinions, and that's a good thing.
And you're wrong.
Okay.
Wait till I edit this.
Yeah.
He's like, I agree.
Okay, so at number 9, we've got Rock Band.
Yeah, whatever.
It's fun.
That was good. Yeah, Skip.
See, that's sort of
that fucking drum
that's the sort of thing. Rock Band and Guitar Hero.
Yeah, I didn't really play it.
Rock Band and Guitar Hero were great, and then they sort of just dropped off the face of it.
It was a great party game.
They sort of actually did. Like I think past the actual first games you got through, like they actually did sort of have that game like they sort of gotten all they could out of it, and you got Rock Band like. All those songs that they released, there's like over 1,500 songs.
They were great party games, and then they just
hopped on that sort of cash.
They died so quickly.
The things that they did the Activision model where they just oversaturated.
Yeah.
So like you had every year there was a new Rock Band, there was a new Guitar Hero, it was new classic Peripheral. I mean, they brought out what was it? DJ Hero.
That was shit.
It got to a point where they were like, yeah, let's bring out DJ Hero.
DJ Hero is good for people who...
That was a steaming pile of shit.
That was a risk.
Let's be honest.
But it still sold pretty well, I'm pretty sure, I think.
I don't think so.
A lot of families...
I think DJ Hero is what killed
that was the start of the line. And then they spent a lot of money on like Rock Band Beatles. Like they spent so much money getting the Beatles.
I'm really surprised we're still talking about this
game. So am I. So let's move on. Number 8, we've got Fallout 3.
I wasn't a fan of this.
I hated Fallout 3, but I loved Fallout New Vegas.
I actually don't mind both games.
Yeah.
Look, I can see what's wrong with Fallout 3. There's definitely things wrong with it, but overall, it's a pretty good experience.
Yeah.
I mind it.
Okay.
No, I was saying it was a really good game. I felt Fallout 3 had a lot of good features.
There is
not features, but
no problem with that being in the top 10 for me, at least.
Yeah. I have no problem with it being there. It's just I prefer Fallout New Vegas.
New Vegas definitely amped up a lot of issues that were with Fallout 3 and a lot of people's problems, like especially with not having character characters to interact with and stuff, and having a deserted, wasteland, which that's kind of the whole point at the same time. So some people are just so stuck in their ways to what they're used to, and I'm not against them for doing that. Of course, interactivity makes things not boring, but
if Fallout played like Borderlands with the shooting mechanics, I would be so over that game. But the fact that it had essentially a turn-based shooting system.
But if it had, no, it didn't.
It had the VATS. They introduced the VATS.
Yeah.
But the VATS system was introduced by Obsidian. It was introduced by Obsidian because they were so unconfident with their shooting mechanics
because you couldn't aim down the sights of your weapon.
Yeah, and so they
in Fallout 3 they just didn't have that feature.
It wasn't.
It was literally shooting from the hip or VATS. Whereas I loved Fallout New Vegas because you could shoot from the hip, or you could aim down your sights, or you could use VATS.
Sure. Oh, so if you had a gun with a scope, maybe in Fallout 3 you could zoom.
Yeah, if you had a sniper rifle, you could zoom in, but that's about it.
Yeah, but they weren't that practical, the sniper rifles.
Yeah.
It's unless you were really far away, for me at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as narrative goes, from what I remember, it was superb. It was one of those games. I remember I shot a rat 12 times with the VATS system, and the rat kept attacking me and ended up killing me. And I'm done. It's just not. This is not going to work for me.
I do remember with Fallout 3 though, it was sort of a weak storyline, whereas you were following in the footsteps of your father, and you'd get to a place. Okay, is my dad here? No, cool. I'm going to go to the next place.
Who actually did the voice for the dad? It was
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, jeez, wouldn't you love to have that for a voice for a dad? You would not fuck with him. You would do your homework every bloody night. You would not.
Yeah, I got a D. I'm going to find you. I'm going to kill you. Okay, I'm getting an A.
Now, speaking of stories with interesting narratives and characters with daddy issues, Red Dead Redemption.
Number 7.
Hey, that game was amazing.
Red Dead Redemption
was arguably my favourite Western game I've ever played.
To be fair, that's not a big list of possible. You have Red Dead Redemption and Gun
and Red Dead Revolver.
Oh no, there's a lot more games, just none that are successful in any
Call of Juarez was a Western game.
Call of Juarez. Juarez. But yeah, even I knew that. I just
Red Dead Redemption.
Idiot.
It was Rockstar's sort of trying to get away from Grand Theft Auto, but really it was Grand Theft Auto.
Making it Grand Theft Auto.
It was just really Grand Theft Auto Old West.
Yeah. Although I will say
it was a good game though. Yeah.
That game has actually probably made me the saddest out of all games ever. At least for the past 10 years, I'd say. Playing throughout the story at the end.
Yeah, you do.
I genuinely felt sad.
The problem I have with that game is that it suffers from all the Rockstar games that suffer with it. It gets to the middle bit and it is so bloated. Like that Mexico segment.
Oh, Mexico sucked.
Yeah, they try and stretch that. Yeah,
it was
the Mexico segment was good. It's the fact that once the Mexico segment was over, you expected the game to be finishing soon, and then they were like, "Oh, by the way, this guy, your old gang leader, showed up," and I was like, "Fuck!"
But that was basically because Mexico went for so long that you assumed the game's finished.
Yeah.
Mexico would have been good in a shorter period of time. That was basically the problem. It was really long and full of a lot of missions of go capture 10 pelts to get this and do that.
Although I do like, when it comes down to John, he sees the world change around him and he doesn't want things to move on exactly. He wants things to stay on. And there's also even that thing when they were in the car and stuff, and the car wouldn't start up. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, oh, well, geez, he made some
he was like, why? He was talking about, why are we in this thing? We could be riding horses.
Exactly,
reliable.
Yeah, because horse isn't going to break down. Oh, well, likely not. Yeah.
I do love the first time you go.
I do like riding. I do love that game where you just ride a horse until it fell over dead, and then you go like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I do love the first time you go to the town on the far east where the ferry is, which is sort of the start of the civilization, and you ride on bitumen for the first time, and the sound changes. You go from dirt to bitumen, and it's just this really audio version of progress that's sort of familiar. I do remember when you start playing and you're doing the whole orientation missions, and then you go up onto the mountain, and then you overlook the plains and you realise that this game is massive.
Yeah,
it's just giant.
You're on the snowy mountain.
The snow, that was.
Actually, the way it transfers from normal terrain into a snowy mountain was amazing. I've actually not seen games to do it. It
sort of was a bit quick when it comes down to from memory, it almost changed instantly, Yeah,
it seemed that way, but it still worked. It wasn't it wasn't like you felt like you had to travel half of the countryside.
Yeah,
to get
and
there,
there was
when you got there, it was like, oh wow, I'm in the snow.
There was always also something fun you could do. not just like something there, like something you could think up for yourself to do. Like I went to the top of the snowy mountain and I fought a bear with a knife.
Yeah.
I just shot birds.
And I won.
Oh yeah, of course. Like you get the pelt and stuff, and they add to the 100% thing, I think. But yeah, and then they also did have the expansion when they had the zombies.
Oh, yeah, Undead Nightmare.
Yeah, Undead Nightmare.
That was good.
Which is alright. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to play that.
But yeah, no, I could easily put that game in the top 5 myself, to be honest. Yeah.
All right, number 6, Skyrim.
Good game, but I lost interest in it. Like I never finished it.
I got 15 hours in, hit a wall, and I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah, I got to about the same point.
I have a lot of love for Skyrim. I just think Skyrim is one of those games that you just got to spend way too much time. If I was 5 years younger, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like you fundamentally enjoy building your character and everything, but it's like you don't necessarily get far very quick. You spend lots of time.
Have you seen? About the building the character. Have you seen that meme? It was like when you're riding in the carriage and with the other prisoners, and he asks you what your name is.
Yeah.
It's just a picture of that dude. It's like, I asked this dude what his name is, and then he spent 30 minutes changing his gender and race.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. But yeah, again, it's just another example of a game that could be better.
It's sort of weird how some fans actually took it, because this franchise, if you compare the third game that came out to Skyrim, which is the fifth, there's been a lot that's changed, and people say it has been dumbed down. And yeah, like it has been, but it was still fun and great in its own right. But what actually made me laugh is that people who played like even the first games, like the
Elder Scrolls
2.5Ds they were back on the
whatever.
PC.
Skyrim was way better than Oblivion, though.
Yeah,
Oblivion was horrible.
You reckon?
It was
Oblivion was just.
Oh no, like it was alright.
Oblivion was great.
I found Oblivion to be unplayable.
Yeah. No, I think with Oblivion actually worked. Like, this is, I don't know, it might be a bit of criticism. Oblivion tend to have worked in a much faster pace than Skyrim. Skyrim, you felt so dragged down by the game.
Nah,
I do a question. I don't
I
know how much people have played Oblivion, and I'm not one who's played stacks, but I know people who have. And when you,
like I've probably put about 1,200 hours into it, to be honest. Yeah, like I've been through a lot of Skyrim games. Yeah.
Like I'm the same as Reese. I will
obviously remove myself from this conversation as soon as someone says that.
The thing with Oblivion was that it was one of those games that when it came out, there was nothing else really to play on 360.
Yeah.
And so it was during that early drought phase where you had Call of Duty 2, Perfect Dark Zero, and Oblivion was
and at the time, it was also unplayable on the PS3, I think, for like the first 6 months. Like they had to bring out a patch. Like apparently there was just a game-breaking point where we got to a certain point. That's it. Like your game save would just screw up and take it back to the start. Or something like that.
That's what happened with Skyrim.
Yeah,
that as well.
I found Oblivion to be unbearably slow.
Yeah. Although one thing I do like about these games is that people who hate these games, I've seen these comments quite a few times. Like, they'll say it's dumbed down and stuff, and then, of course, someone will say, oh, well, you haven't played the game, obviously you just want to go back to the old times, and the comment is always, I put 500 hours into this game, it is terrible, and you're thinking, someone's played it all this time, and, like, they're seriously sitting there thinking, oh, God.
I hate this game so much, I need to play more of it.
Yeah, Jesus.
This is the worst, that's my 12 hours a day done.
I know, but they just...
To be fair, I understand hate playing because I hate played through Force Unleashed 2, which is easily my number one least favourite game.
You wouldn't do it with many games, though. That's the thing.
Because I knew it was going to be a 6-hour campaign. I'm like, I will fucking beat this game because I will not admit defeat.
Was it 1 or 2 where you pulled the Star Destroyer out of space?
That was 1. 2 was the one with the...
That was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
But it was cool.
It was stupid, but it was cool, yeah.
But the thing with 2 was like the fucking boss battles with like the 12 health bars.
Yeah, that was fucking ridiculous.
Alright, so number 5. The orange box.
Didn't perform well on the 360. The orange box,
bang.
it performed well for PC because you got, Portal, Half-Life 2, and Team Fortress 2 that did remarkably well on the PC.
Yeah, I mean, Team Fortress 2 never took off the console.
It absolutely bombed on console.
But in its defense, it had Portal, which is still one of the greatest games ever made.
Yeah. Like I think they probably just put this in for the sake of the actual games that you get there.
Which is kind of cheating because it's not one game.
Half-Life series? Because I
I actually really like it. Yeah,
I couldn't get into it. I felt it was just really badly paced.
I understand the hype behind it, but I myself am not a fan of it.
Yeah, I remember playing it. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, when is there going to be a break? This guy's been running for like 4 hours.
Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could understand like the appeal to the game, but I just
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I can see why people rate it highly.
Same.
It came back in 2002, I think it was, or 2003.
2005 was when
And
Half-Life 2 was
when you get into the car, apparently people said when you get into the car, when you get into the open world, they said I've never experienced anything like this. Like this is ridiculous. Like it's just so big. You know, like you're going to see for miles and stuff, and you've got all these people coming down in on you. And at the time, like the sound was also fantastic.
Yeah.
For the time, I think Valve, they really did a good job. Like, the actual idea of content, sure, it dragged on a lot, but if you actually go back and play it once you know what you're doing, it's not a very long game.
Yeah.
But the content that they released was fantastic. Although I don't rate it as highly as most people would, but I still enjoyed it a lot.
I mean, weirdly, I was thinking every time I play Half-Life 2, it always seems like I've broken up with someone or I've had a relationship end. I put it on. It just depresses the fuck out of me. So I make
you forget about it. Geez, I need something worse to actually.
Fuck you, Gordon. She's into you. Why aren't you doing something? I would. Alright, so that leads into number 4, which is Portal 2. Incredible game. Okay. I think that is one of the greatest games ever made.
I've played bits and pieces.
Was that probably my favourite cooperative game?
From what I've played, though, it's really fun.
We actually did the co-op in one night here, and that's the only instance I've played it in.
It
was great.
I remember that. That was supposed to be all these people came over.
Yeah.
Because it was you, Reese Holman, and Paul. It wasn't Luke Harkin, yes. It was the 5 of us.
Yeah.
And it was really upfront, we're going to co-op through Portal 2. That's what we're doing. Was that
the night where Reese, drank, a slab of cruisers and he, ran straight on into a tree?
No, that was another night. Reese Holman actually got really into the game.
Yeah.
But then at, 9 o'clock, fucking Alan, Christine, Laura, and someone else rocked up, and they just sat there the entire time bitching that we were playing video games.
That's right.
And I told them on the phone, I'm like, we're playing Portal 2.
Yeah.
We're playing...
Things aren't going to change if you're here, your presence is not wanted,
Yeah, this is weird. I was very...
but we're playing the game.
I was very upfront with what we were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, they were disappointed that they weren't kidding?
They still bitch about it.
They didn't leave. They sat there for a good 2-3 hours just talking about
which really is their fault, because if they wanted something better to do, then they could have gone somewhere else.
Exactly. We had better stuff to do. They were taking on with us. All right, so
it was a good experience, though. Yeah.
Number 3, we've already kind of touched on this. Halo 3.
Okay.
My favourite Halo game
of
the series.
Than Halo 4, obviously.
My favourite game of the series. Halo 2 had a better single player, but I love the multiplayer of Halo 3.
Yeah.
Because that was when I got onto Xbox Live and I played Halo 3 multiplayer, and that was just what really kicked off my love for shooters and whatever.
I would make the argument that Halo ODST is a better game, only because it's got the complete Halo 3 multiplayer.
Yeah.
And it's got Firefight, and it had, in my opinion, a better campaign.
They had separate discs, though.
But still, they came out. It's part of that package. Yeah, it's part of the ODST when you buy the box.
Yeah. It was a really cool premise, and I like the campaign, but I do love Halo 3 much more.
And that mode, Forge was also great. I usually don't sort of get into games where they have that mode.
Build your own sort of thing.
I sort of wait for people to actually create their own maps, but even me, for someone who's not all that sort of patient with that sort of mode, I enjoyed it. I spent heaps of time with mates and stuff, just going in, and of course, me, I was a fire star.
I mean,
I would go into people's maps and just fuck it up. And,
there were people that would make such amazing things on that. Even on Halo 3, the earliest version of Forge, which was notoriously quite difficult to use. Some people made some amazing creations. I remember there was was that the desert map on Halo 3?
Sandbox.
On Sandbox, someone made a map called ODST where you would spawn up on a ship, and then you'd gear up and whatever, and there were vehicles and all that in the ship, and then you get into a drop pod.
Elaborate.
You get into a drop pod which was held there by an overshield or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you walked in, you'd click the overshield, and then this drop pod would fall out, and you'd go down to the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's awesome.
What
It's ridiculous. And then, of course, when someone play that, they think, oh, geez, how do I do that? And then they go into Forge, and then they try and, make that better. So, and then it will always go back. And it was actually funny because the idea of Halo 3 was people thought they would actually take off in competition when they did when it comes out of pro game.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Forge, just that as its own sort of standalone, people were competing against each other to have better maps and better concepts with Forge.
I mean, and there were some maps that got brought in by Bungie.
Right,
I mean, Rooster Teeth made a joke on Red vs. Blue about a game called Griffball, and then as a joke they made a map for it,
and they made a playlist,
and then they started playing it, and then it got made a game type of its own.
Yeah. It was actually pretty funny. I actually saw a game record. I think it was the best Halo 3 pro team at the time. I think it might have been. Blokes like I'm trying to remember names like T-Squared.
T-Squared, yeah.
People like that. Apparently there was like a party of 5 of them, and then they versed like a party of 5 in that playlist, and there was like three players and 2 of them had guests. So three players who I think probably like staff, like when they ranks like pretty low ranks and stuff. And they got their asses handed to them, in Griffball, because it's not got to do a skill, like, it's just about having fun.
Griffball got the Rooster Teeth guys were messing around with it, but it got debuted at, they got invited to Bungie Day, where Bungie, on the 7th of the 7th, would have a big festival at their headquarters, and they would invite guests, and they'd play games and all that sort of stuff. And I remember on the Rooster Teeth podcast, they talked about when they got invited to Bungie Day, and they played the devs in Griffball, and they just smashed them. And then they smashed them in a couple games, and then the devs got the hang of it and just absolutely destroyed the Rooster Teeth.
Okay, so we'll go on to number 2, which we've already spoken about earlier, GTA 5.
Yeah.
You guys agreeing?
I've got it pretty sort of fresh in my mind. I actually wish I bought it when it came out.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game, and it brought in the whole new idea of, instead of playing as one character, you had the 3 main characters which you would switch between.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I broke the game or I lost it or I did something, I'd be buying it tomorrow. So the games always have new.
And it's really one of those games where you just laugh, like you actually laugh. Like sometimes, like you got to pause, you're just chuckling.
There's always something you can find. There's always something you can find in that game that's just new or fantastic. I mean,
I love that he's Canadian.
It's a slight accent.
Did you ever find out how when if you got 2 of the main characters together, like you'd be switching between them, getting them closer together, and then you get them together and you just let them do their thing. You're playing as one of the characters. If you would follow the other character long enough, he would turn around and kill you.
Really?
He would like give you warnings, like stop fucking following me, and then eventually he would just turn around and beat the shit out of you.
Amazing.
But I mean, I think GTA 5 is the most technically amazing game that came out last year. It is a perfect swan song.
There is a lot of content, and when it comes down to that effect of one little thing can happen, there's like you hear about like on the radios, it'll be like on your phone and stuff with the web browser, and it's great.
Yeah, and I just remember just being absolutely floored by how immense the game was. Like even if you compare it to GTA 4, I mean GTA 4 was dense, but GTA 5 just wasn't for dead.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I think the funniest thing about that game is that every time you turn it on, you always do something different and funny.
Yeah.
Like you'll always surprise yourself with some ridiculous moment. You're like, that just happened. Why wasn't I recording?
Not to mention there was always something funny happening with Trevor. Like you'd switch to him, and after not playing as him for a while, because you know how after not playing as a character for a while, and you'd switch to them, and then they'd
sort of do
they'd be doing something weird.
Part of the map.
I remember sometimes you'd switch to Trevor, and he'd
naked on the beach.
He'd just
surrounded by dead bodies.
He'd be waking up, and he's like on the edge of a bridge, and he's just in his underwear.
Yeah.
My favorite
one was got people dangling over bridges and stuff.
My favorite one was when you switched to Trevor and he's drunk in a police helicopter.
That's fantastic.
All right, number 1. I completely 100% agree with this.
Yeah.
The Mass Effect trilogy.
Trilogy.
That's the kind of thing, though. I agree that all 3 Mass Effect games are fantastic games, and they deserve to be number 1. The problem is that it's kind of a cop-out that it's
It's
a trilogy of games rather than one game being named number one.
Yeah, I agree, but I would, in all honesty, I would have maybe not Mass Effect 1 per se, but Mass Effect 2 and 3.
In all honesty, it should have been. In all honesty, it should have been Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 in the top 3 spots, and then Halo 4 shouldn't have been on the list.
Well, Rock Band if this was our own list, it'd probably be a lot different. But again, they're compared for different reasons. But Mass Effect Trilogy, I think it's because of the experience, to be honest. It's from the first to the third is what makes Mass Effect.
Yeah, and I think Mass Effect perfectly sums up the last generation of consoles, which is you had Mass Effect 1 that came out, 2006?
Yeah.
Yep.
Late 2006, and it was a very,
complex,
traditional RPG shooter that somehow managed to, incorporate some cover-based elements.
Yeah, and it managed to gather
it's set up
massive fan
It's set up the stage, and then you have Mass Effect 3, which is, arguably one of the best games ever made. And in my personal opinion, Mass Effect 2, which is the only game I've ever played completely 3 times. I put over 130 hours into that game.
I think I've played that completely 2 or 3 times as well, yeah.
So, I mean, I completely agree.
Do you want my opinion on the... No, you probably don't, do you?
I do. Before you do.
Okay,
I'm probably the only person that can complete a game and doesn't want to...
together here.
Yeah. I don't know. When I complete a game, I usually feel that if the game is great, it's an amazing game and a great experience, that I don't want to repeat it because I don't want to ruin that initial experience.
Okay.
Because, there's very little games that I will repeat, and if I do repeat, it's maybe the side missions here and there, but it's to add depth to that game. But I don't want to replay the story because I don't want that story to be, tarnished by something that I'm I already know the story, I already know everything.
I totally agree, but Mass Effect 2 was the exception to that for me. That was the only game... Yeah, it basically is the only game outside of, a Call of Duty campaign or a Halo campaign where I wanted to replay it because I wanted to see what else it could do, and I wanted to see what I'd missed out on.
Yeah. For the different Paragon Renegade stuff, that would be what would be interesting for me. It'd be a bit of a pull.
But it's the only game I've ever wanted to be perfect at.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that I wanted it to be a perfect run through.
Fair enough. I'm at the moment now with heists coming out on GTA 5 soon, hopefully. I'm probably going to get that. I'm probably going to get that again on next gen. And
you should trade your Xbox and your PS4.
Hey, you should do that.
Hey, fuck all y'all.
Sony chill over here in the corner, geez.
But I'm not going to lie. I had it.
Bravia is a fantastic television.
But I am hoping beyond hope that Mass Effect Trilogy gets released on next gen.
If Mass Effect Trilogy was remastered, I would buy it day one.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I was talking to the woman I'm seeing about that because she was joking what games would make me disappear. And I'm like, hey, just so you know, if this trilogy came out, I would take 2 weeks off work.
I would be dead to the world.
Yeah, I would not leave my lounge room for the entire time. I would just marathon the shit out of that.
Go sit on a dildo I love.
Yeah. Paul, you were going to say.
Okay. Well, look, you guys all seem to love the game series, okay? So
don't hold back.
No, you can, because I'm very objective.
Don't hold back. It's just that
the game was fucked.
When the recording stops, there's going to be no proof that we murdered you. Okay?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Edit.
All right.
Just kidding.
The first game was absolutely fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I really thought it was great. I just keep saying nice words all the time, about it. No, but look, it was great. It was...
I wrote a soliloquy.
It sort of wasn't too hard or too easy, and I love the fact that when you could get things, when you had points to spend, there was all these different options that you could choose.
Yeah.
And overall, probably in the game, I'm sure they probably didn't make that much, change, I guess. You didn't increase your health a little bit much with, toughness. The effect wouldn't be so much, but I just love that I had that choice.
Let me interrupt you for a moment. That's one thing that I was a little bit disappointed about with Mass Effect 2 and 3 is that they dumbed it down.
The upgrades were
dumbed down the
very
upgrade
streamlined,
system.
Very streamlined, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go the argument between, and you're going to go with the argument on the other side, because I don't know how you...
I disagree with that. I actually think that Mass Effect 2 modernized the system by having it as a power upgrade as opposed to an ammo upgrade. It streamlined the process. You were still getting fundamentally the same effect, but it was a quicker way of doing it by hotkeying
Okay, and the middle.
I don't like that school of thought when it comes down to it. So I'm not saying
I don't like you.
Yeah. But I'm noticing a trend.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just
I
saying,
am.
I'm just saying that it's a bad way to live.
Yeah, so the so the middle ground between is basically like you've got to have a point of modernising a system and making it better and quicker. But then there's a degree of when you go too far
and you dumb it down.
Yeah, and that's the thing is there's one school of thought where it's making it easier and efficient and taking you away from the game to have to think too much into it to change something. And then there's another thing with making it too intricate that it actually becomes time consuming to actually progress in the game at all. So that's the problem. If you can make it work, but also make it relevant to your choices, that's what you want in a game. Ultimately,
the thing
with RPG.
I loved about Mass Effect 2 was it didn't have inventory management. Which is, in Mass Effect 1, you would get all this shit that you would just delete and you would turn into Omnigel because you had no need for it. And so the game was actually making you do time-consuming, not gaming-related things to keep your housekeeping in order. Mass Effect 2 said, fuck it, and got rid of that. And so what I love about Mass Effect 2 is because it's essentially a, more or less it's closer to Gears of War than it is to anything else. But it was like Gears of War on steroids with narrative and with RPG elements.
I can't say how that is. Like, I suppose that's the way that it went. Mm-hmm. And look, I'm not happy that it went that way, but it's not my choice to say that's what was right for it. It was their game. They were allowed to do what they would do it. I just said that if they stuck to the first Mass Effect a lot more, but of course I would have to change it a little bit. I definitely would have enjoyed the series a lot more.
Yeah.
So one was great. You got the main bad guy, Sovereign. He was just this huge reaper. He just didn't care about you. He saw you as an insect. He didn't even address you by name.
That's what I loved about it. Like, the main bad guy, up until about halfway through the game, was just a single person.
Yeah.
It was what was the... Saren.
Yeah.
The guy that went rogue, and you thought he was the bad guy, and then you get halfway through the game, and it turns out, I was like,
he's just a puppet.
No, he's just a puppet. The bad guy is actually this sentient ship, and it's like, that's just a whole new thing.
Half sort of sentient. Like, these people don't consider them on the same sort of plane of existence. Like, they exist in this realm, but they keep on going, how we're made, you guys can't even begin to understand how you did so. But they sort of masquerade themselves as these beings who are just so much better than them, and they were just so arrogant of it. Yeah.
That's exactly what I loved about Mass Effect 2, which was that the story was personal. It was about a suicide mission.
Yeah.
It was, in Mass Effect 1, regardless of what you did, you would win the game. In Mass Effect 2, if you didn't play it properly, you could die. Like, your character would
if you played it badly, you would die. Like, it was pretty hard to get to the suicide mission, to be honest, actually die, because...
But that's what I'm saying. In the suicide mission, if you didn't play the game well enough, you could actually be punished and you could die.
Yeah.
And for me, the whole thing about Mass Effect 2 was it was about keeping the squad alive. I loved the characters so much in Mass Effect 2. I love what they did.
That you would do everything to
I remember my first playthrough, I lost Garrus. I screamed at the television. It was...
Like, I don't know. Everything went fantastic,
Garrus is just, like, he's the only one you don't...
Exactly.
Let's be honest.
That was my thing.
He's a bro.
That was my thing. I had no idea what happened to it.
Garrus is a real guy. What are you saying, guys?
I remember screaming at my television because I'm like, I haven't played it well enough.
Can this wait till later? I'm doing some calibrations.
That's it, yeah. Oh, fantastic one. But yeah, like the first game, look, everything's great. 2, okay, look, I was hard on 2 when it first came out. It's actually not a bad game.
Interesting choice of words.
See, he was hard on it. I had a hard on for it. It just depends on how you...
It's definitely not an RPG anymore. We're sort of getting into this thing where Mass Effect isn't an RPG.
And I'm okay with that.
It's a shooter with RPG sort of quirks about it.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
I didn't mind, like, the shooting environments. It actually had nice environments, to be honest. Like, I actually didn't mind it, okay?
It was Star Wars. It was Star Wars we always wanted.
Harbinger, though, I didn't like the fact that he sort of actually talked to Shepard and he actually called him out as by name. That sort of took it away from me. Like, it sort of makes Harbinger look weak.
I think that was the point. He was weak to the Reaper. That was the...
Oh, well, yeah, of course. But he's not supposed to, give that impression at all. Like, he's supposed to be this villain, like, I don't care who you are.
The whole idea about the Reaper...
I don't want to get to know you.
But the thing for Mass Effect 2 is that he wasn't the true villain. It was the Invisible Man was the true villain.
That was the point. Is he was talking to him because he wasn't trying to be the villain.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, okay, no, he was the villain, he was the bad guy, but the big evil in Mass Effect 2 was Cerberus. It was the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
And you're working for that because you've basically made a deal with the devil for the greater good.
Well, of course, that's sort of separate. But the personality of Harbinger, like I thought that he was just badly written. Like he's
because
he
the
definitely
whole
shouldn't be
idea
like a
behind
carbon
the
copy of
Reapers.
like they don't care about individuals. They've got this goal. Like
Not just that. It's the whole idea behind the
Reapers.
Reapers is they saw themselves as above everything else, looking down on everything else, and everything else was ants to them. But then he acknowledged Shepard by using his actual name instead of just going. Instead of calling him like puny.
See, like
I've got the upper hand here now. I could really fuck with this guy. You can really get into his.
I think that is like a really, really niche, nitpicking type thing for the game. Like that even never occurred to me in the 120, 130 hours I played it.
Well, you probably couldn't see because, at that stage, I'm pretty sure your dick was doing the thing with you after you did that game, So, of course, they wouldn't filter through, it comes down to all the blood in your head. You are pale above the waist, even more so than now.
Yeah.
So look, of course, that might be me being anal,
No, that's fair. No, it's
such
fair.
a characteristic of Bubble of Paul to talk about someone else's dick.
But no, in fairness, it's when you're paying them attention to a story that is gripping, that you will acknowledge things like that. It's just, if it's enough for multiple people to point out the fact that you use him by his name, I couldn't honestly say, because, to be honest, I couldn't even honestly tell you the whole trilogy off the top of my head. I would have to replay the whole game, and when I did, I'd be amazed by it.
But the thing is, I could replay that whole game right now. If you gave me a remastered version of it, or even...
But that's what I'm saying.
I would sit down and
I would do that.
It. Yeah.
I would.
And it sort of actually was a lot more harder on Insane. Like, I realised when it comes down to Mass Effect 1, if your character... If you had a few playthroughs through and you eventually got your stats carry over, and on Insane, my first go in Mass Effect 1, I died twice, maybe.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, that's it. When it comes down to my soldier, he had maximum health, toughness, the best rifle. It was really just sort of like a stop and pop game, and then you run. I had that easy. But when it comes down to Mass Effect 2, that was not really hard. But enough that you really couldn't, sort of go about your own thing. It sort of forced you to think a little bit, and...
I like how 3 implemented a lot of,
3 was a good combination. It was a good cross between 1 and 2.
They started implementing a lot of, enemies that weren't just, a quick takedown with this way or takedown with that way. It was more you actually have to spend time and you have to move around and cover. It wasn't like a...
Well, the last thing I will say about Mass Effect is that my favourite thing that ever occurred when Mass Effect 3 came out and all the controversy around the endings was a Mass Effect fan club sent, 100 cupcakes.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it sent 90 cupcakes to the BioWare office. Yeah. And all the cupcakes had there were 3 different colours. It was green, blue, and red icing. Yeah. But when you bit into them, it was all vanilla. And so the whole thing was that no matter what, it was the same thing no matter what you did. Yeah. And I thought that was the best. That was the best
thing to come from. Yeah. So
just that story.
Yeah.
Just that story.
For the second game, that's what I think about it. The third game, I'm not going to get into too much.
The third game was the weakest.
I was kind of dumb and serious by that stage, I guess. I did want to play it through and everything. Look, people can go on about how they had that option where you didn't really have to even play the game. It was sort of like the story. They had that really dumbed down mode story mode where you just shoot a Geth once or anything and they'll just drop.
Yeah.
And you get through the story as quick as you can. And I thought, look, it's not forced on you. You don't really have to do it. And of course, every time I bring it up when I say, look, I just didn't like it. I just couldn't get through it. People say, oh, why? Because the ending was so bad. I said, look,
I liked the ending. The ending was
I liked the ending. The one problem I had with it was the whole galactic readiness thing. How no matter how much
it sort of forced you to play online and stuff.
No matter how much you did, you could only get 50%.
And you had to download the app and stuff to actually get more points.
Nick remembers me fucking fuming at that.
No, because no matter what you did, how ready you were, you could only get up to 50% galactic readiness, and then you had to play multiplayer to get another 50%. The problem was that nobody was fucking playing the multiplayer.
Yes, they were. I was. I was dominating that shit.
It was
it was good, but it was
sort of bugged, I guess.
It was good, but we done it for 3 games.
You sort of had that team squad thing, but no one really worked together.
Yeah.
Kind of. I try to get people to say, oh, all right, we have to do things, and I thought I just gave up. I actually stopped before the second last sort of main quest. So before you go like on the run, the assassin that you have to kill, Kylane, was his name?
Yeah.
I stopped at that. Like I said, I can't play this game anymore. It's just so bad. It's just terrible. I just didn't like it anymore. And like, look, like I already knew about the ending. Like I thought, nah, like I don't care. I'm gonna get to the ending. And then, like after the assault on the, main.
There were a couple of things that I liked about it, where you went to planets that you hadn't been to before. I mean, you started off on Earth,
like Tyrion.
You didn't actually go to the Turian homeworld. You went to a moon of the Turian homeworld to help defend it.
Yeah.
And then you went to the Asari homeworld.
So then again, you might have gone to that.
And then you went to the Krogans to transport the female who was fertile, like one of the only.
See, the thing for me with Mass Effect 3, I think the best memory I have of that game is right before you do the final assault. So you've just landed on Earth after the initial thing, and you're all getting ready to go off, and you're going and you're saying goodbye to the characters. And some of these characters, like Liara and Gareth, you know, like I had the Liara romance for all 3 games, and so some of these characters you've spent, you know, 250 hours with at that point. And you're actually saying goodbye to them, and they were so well written and it's so well done that I'm like, fuck, this is actually the end.
Yeah.
Like, this could be the last time I ever interact with these guys. And I felt so pained by that. Like that actually, like, and then I got a steely resolve. I'm like, no, I have to get through this because I want fucking Caden to have gay sex with Freddie Prinze Jr.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's but yeah,
it's necessary.
Yeah,
but yeah, like it really was not a good ending for me at least. Like, I mean, of course, like I'm, you know, just this person who's like all jaded and cynical and bitter and all that. Yeah, but this game also does say a lot about the company that made it, BioWare, how they've actually evolved. You know, and most people like it. I personally don't, but I think that the games and how they actually came out, it also says a lot about where the company's headed. And I don't think that there's too many games that actually do that. You know, like you sort of don't think that games, you know, sort of
indication of the company.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like you sort of think that when it comes down to people making the games, they're sort of, you know, in control of it. But you can sort of see the trend that they sort of took. Like you think, so have they changed for the games, or have the games changed them, you know, kind of.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I sort of think also when it comes down to BioWare and when it comes down to their work,
I love BioWare.
Yeah. Just as
what's the name? Dragon Age Inquisition. That game is so far, it's amazing.
Yeah. Just as a small aside, if Paul doesn't appear on the podcast again, we definitely didn't murder him.
Yeah, no. Well, no.
At least not Mass Effect fans.
Paul.
All right. Well, that concludes the list. So we've been going for an hour.
We're about.
It's a double episode.
Yeah, this is a double episode. Yeah,
this is contact I've ever had. Oh my no.
This is a special.
Talking about games, at least. Although when it comes down to the third game of that, that's actually what sort of pushed me off of video games. Like,
really?
Yeah, definitely. Like after that game, I really didn't have a drive to play video games as much as I did. So
yeah,
that combined with like age.
See, that means she's never played
maturity.
But that means all right. Just for this list.
Yeah.
The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. I would put The Last of Us as better than every other game on this list except for Mass Effect 2.
But this is an Xbox list.
I know, but I'm just saying that if you're talking about the greatest games of last generation, because so many of these are crossovers, like there's only like maybe 5 which are Xbox 360 exclusive.
Which is pretty disappointing, actually. Like you sort of would like to see more of them.
But there aren't that many good Xbox exclusives. But I would put The Last of Us as arguably the greatest game of last generation. By far. And
you still haven't played the whole thing.
Yeah, and that, for me, that is like one game which is beyond repute. It is for me, it would be even better than GTA 5.
Yeah. Okay.
I can, from this list, I can see 4 games and Mass Effect 1 Xbox exclusives.
So, yeah, I mean, you could put this list onto both consoles. And yeah, there's, I mean, you've got, actually, I mean, honestly, even on the other console, even on PS3, I'd be looking at Last of Us and Uncharted 2 as basically the 2 main ones.
Yeah. I did Uncharted 3 stuff.
That game was a bit of a disappointment.
It was like how to get such a good game and then be like, oh yeah, look pretty. Yeah, pretty. This is boring. This is like I've never been so bored in my life.
What game, sorry?
Uncharted 3. And, okay, never been so bored in my life is a bit of a stretch, but I played Uncharted 2 for the first time and I stayed up till 4 a.m. in the morning because I literally couldn't stop playing that
game's
game.
amazing. I loved Uncharted 2. Alrighty. So we'll go for another 5 minutes. We might as well hit 4 hours. Alright, so just quickly, what games do you
How
want
much
to...
did the first podcast go for,
let's
actually?
skip that one.
About an hour.
What movies?
Actually, I want to ask Paul a question. Paul, No Man's Sky.
I'm actually excited for it.
Yeah, fuck you, Eddie. He's excited for it. Right, that's the question.
It actually might make me buy a PS4, to be honest. Like, it seriously seems...
Which is seamlessly going into the world, and that makes it amazing.
And of course, like, you travel somewhere, and of course, look, it's a really bold sort of move that they're making with this game, what it's going to live up to there. Because, of course, like, one game that most people are comparing this to is Spore. You know, when people say you could do anything. You could be a germ and grow up in the bacteria. And, like, it did turn out to be that. But Spore was not well
way
built.
overrated.
Yeah, it was not well sort of received. And also had a lot of hype. Because the guy who made The Sims was head on that thing. And then, he hasn't got a career anymore in gaming.
He did a Peter Molyneux.
Yeah, exactly.
Way overhyped that game.
Yeah.
Except that actually ruined his career, where somehow Peter Molyneux still has a career.
Not for much longer, apparently, how Goddess is going.
Yeah, fair enough.
Back to
No Man's Sky. Yeah, no, I'm actually pretty excited to see how it turns out. Yeah.
I think you should buy PS4 for it.
When it comes out,
when it comes out,
okay? And after 10 to 14 days, how people receive it, then I'll definitely make a
smart approach to go by
that.
now. Like, I mean, it's one of those. It's not worth putting money into.
I can't believe how people pre-order games now.
The only game I have pre-ordered at the moment is Arkham
pre-order
Knight.
games that much anymore. I used to pre-order like all of my games, and now I'm just like, I'm just going to wait till the game comes out, and I'll probably go get it.
I feel like I've pre-ordered something recently.
One thing that I see about this is that when it comes down to pre-ordering games, I assume that I'd have to pre-order games because they wouldn't have any there. But I've been to the mornings after night launch stuff into JB, and they've got rows of games there. You know, like when it comes down to copies that are actually there sitting on the walls, there's hundreds of them.
I think the last game I pre-ordered was the new Call of Duty because it was if you pre-order
Halo 3 was the last game I pre-ordered actually.
I pre-ordered Call of Duty Advanced Warfare because they did the whole thing where if you've got a pre-order you can get it the day before the actual launch. So like I went that day to EB Games and placed the pre-order, and then I went back that night for the midnight launch and got the game.
I honestly can't think of that game that I pre-ordered recently. I mean, Evolve was part of a pre-order, but it was basically for another game that came out. You know, it just happened to be on there, and I was like, oh, yeah, it was stupid, whatever. But
I've got a pre-order for Arkham Knight. That's only because I want the Batmobile.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's how they get you. that is great marketing. Yeah.
It's like, I want that Batmobile.
Fantastic marketing they have there, yeah.
So I mean, I'm very excited for No Man's Sky. It looks really interesting. They haven't announced
Still no day.
Probably August, September. They'll probably announce the release date at E3. Rainbow Six Vegas.
Whoa.
So Rainbow Six Siege, sorry.
Yeah, man. I'm all over Rainbow Six. I'm all over tactical shooters.
Didn't they cancel the game that they showed
Patriots.
2 or 3 years ago? The trailer with the guy who had the bomb strapped to him. Okay.
Yeah,
that was actually an amazing.
Apparently the game didn't work.
Okay,
no,
fair, but
I think it was mostly because they were making that for the old gen, and then the new gen came out, and they're like, it's probably easier just to make a new game rather than
they could have used the same.
No, but I'm pretty sure that they showcased that first on the PS4 and Xbox One. I'm pretty sure that was a game leading into E3 as one of the next gen games. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
It was 2012, wasn't it? It was running on a PC.
2013. No,
it seemed like it wasn't 2013. It was before that.
Because 2013 was.
I'm almost positive it was 2011.
When was the one announced? Because I remember it was after that.
The Xbox One was announced
late May 2013. I'm pretty sure because I had that.
It came out in November 2013.
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Rainbow Six Patriots was 2011 because it was at least 2 years before. It was at least
No, because I do remember hearing that one of the reasons that they decided to cancel it was because they were making it for the previous gen.
Okay, because
it was just easier to cancel it and make a different game than to bring all the assets onto a new engine.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure that I saw that trailer of the guy who gets broken in and he gets bombs strapped to him and his wife and his children are crying and he's on the bridge and gets pushed off.
2011.
I'm pretty sure that was showcased.
No, most of those trailers or whatever, they run on a high-end PC.
Okay, well...
what about, speaking of games which are not going to look as good as the trailers, Rainbow Six The Division.
See, The Division is arguably one of my most excitable games to come out.
They announced it too soon, though. They announced it too soon.
I'm actually really concerned about that game.
If you're going to announce it the problem with the game is if you're going to announce it at E3 and then you're back at E3 the next year showcasing it, you announce it way too early.
Yeah,
Ubisoft has not had a good track record for AAA releases this generation. Watch Dogs underperformed. All the Assassin's Creeds have underperformed. Everything they've done has underperformed.
Okay, again, a game that I'm super excited for, but only because of the gamer inside of me, not because of the logic behind it. I'm fully aware that it's a game that's probably going to suck in comparison to what they've actually released and talked about. So that's why I don't care. But until, again, it comes out and it gets a track record and we see what actually comes of it, if it works the way we want it to work, which, let's not go by that because we're not 10-year-old anymore, it could be an impressive game.
I hope it is.
I hope it is, but it's a lot of hope. And we're used to hoping.
I hope it plays like...
by these type of titles, so.
Yeah. I mean, I know, anything that's got the Ubisoft badge on now,
you've got to watch it and see what it does.
They don't have quality for me anymore. They don't represent quality, which is what they used to a couple of years ago when, Ghost Recon Future Soldier.
Siege is likely to come out and just be flawless.
Yeah.
Or close to.
But the whole thing with the Division is...
likely being the key word.
I'm skeptical, but I'm also excited for it. I'm just hoping it doesn't... I'm just hoping it doesn't pull a Destiny.
But Siege's backbone... Alright, so something like Siege...
How do people think about that game? Because I was told to get it it was just like, Paul...
No. Reese is going to defend Destiny to the death. I reckon it's a steaming pile of crap.
And it turned out to be...
The thing about Destiny...
It sort of promised too much.
The thing about Destiny, the best...
Not even the fact that it promised too much, it's the fact that...
It's just the same stuff over and over again.
Not even... Yeah, sort of that. It's just the fact that it came out and it has no storyline.
The thing about Destiny is I don't like Destiny, but I've put over 100 hours into it.
So like a Skyrim.
Yeah, exactly. It's the...
So I can call it a bad game.
You don't like Destiny?
I don't like... I love the mechanics. It is a game where it is so mechanically sound.
I agree with that.
It is flawless.
It's just the fact that I am a huge person
and the narrative,
to enjoy the narrative, and the fact that the fact that 9 months before the game came out, they gutted the storyline.
Well, okay, we don't know exactly what happened. There's a lot of rumors and a lot of shit happened behind the scenes that they've never officially commented on. But the fact is that the Destiny narrative was completely underwhelming and almost non-existent.
Yeah,
and you can make an argument that the way Destiny operates, with its loot drops, with everything outside of the mechanics of the game, means that it's not a very good game. And I completely agree with that. But the fact is that I've put at least 100 hours into that title over 6 months.
This is just basically you saying I've put 100 hours into this game and I don't. I'm trying to justify it.
I'm not being negative. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying as it is.
I love conflict.
No, but it's addictive. It was like I was about.
It's a fun game to play.
It is. And when you've got 2 or 3 people working as a fire team, and you're up against a boss, and you overcome a boss by working together. It is a great feeling.
But you know what? Do you know what my ending to that is?
So hard.
You're amazing. You know that my ending to this though is if Battlefield worked as well as Destiny did mechanically, it would fucking smash Destiny out of the park.
And that
because it's not trying to fuck around. It's not trying to say we have a story. We're an amazing fucking sci-fi blah blah blah. It's like no, we're just a Battlefield game. We are literally playing game modes and shit, and we're doing it. And we're doing it well. The thing is, they both lack the opposite problem. Battlefield has, a shit story, but Battlefield's not about the story, it never was. It was always about the multiplayer element. If it worked, 100% it would be amazing. If Destiny had a story that was amazing, that went with the amazing mechanics, the art, the creativity that is behind it, it would be amazing. But it lacks it. So what game's going to come out to fill that hole?
I'm not trying to say that Destiny is a shit game. In no respects, this isn't a bad game. It's just the fact that it barely had a storyline, and having a good campaign storyline is what usually draws me into the game.
I don't think they ever marketed it as having an amazing
sort of fairly integral. Yeah,
the official.
That's one of the things that a lot of people miss.
All right, I'll go a little bit PR-y here. The official stance for Destiny's story. The official stance for Destiny's story was that it's about you creating your own story. And it's you creating your own experiences in this, open-ended universe. That was what.
That's a good idea.
No, but that's what
When
the pitch
there's
was.
some story
When
to
I
go.
was
Yeah,
when
that
I was
was-
working on the team that was like releasing it in Australia, that was what the pitch we were given by Activision.
Yeah, I know, but that's
this
just
is
kind
the
of...
one that we're going for. Yeah, and
Isn't that an amazing PR
that's just
speech for
kind of-
saying,
I'm sure
we
they're
don't
gonna
have a
even-
campaign, motherfucker, think of one.
That was essentially just them saying...
Basically.
So proud.
And don't get me wrong, I don't agree with that. And
That-
I think
that
that when you
was- sorry.
consider Bungie's,
But they're not lying.
when you consider Bungie's
Yeah.
pedigree and where Bungie was coming from, but for me, Destiny, once I got over the lack of a story, it wasn't about the narrative. It was about the grind and the loot and the reward.
Yeah, but the thing for me is the narrative is what usually is supposed to draw you in. It's the fact that they...
Have you enjoyed playing Battlefield with a bunch of people?
Yeah.
Huh?
Have you enjoyed playing Battlefield with a bunch of people?
Or Call of Duty. There's no narrative for that. But with Call of Duty is a perfect example. Call of Duty multiplayer, it's stats. You're unlocking the stats, you're unlocking the prestige, you're unlocking the weapons.
Although I still do like that viewpoint that you've
Halo
got,
3,
but I'm going to take it like even like a level further, saying that gamers nowadays don't deserve to have that freedom. They need to be told what to do. To be honest, you know, like I'm sick and tired of hearing about these people. Oh, you know, go off and do what you want to do, and people will always say, "Oh no, it's not working out the way that I want it to." You know, all this. I really don't think people are smart enough.
But
I'm just going to say that out loud. Like,
But in context, you don't think they're smart enough to say
I sort of think that the modern gamer, like, they really need to be told what to do.
But
No, we're trying to stick away from tutorials as much as we can. Like, I hate tutorials.
I think people should make the entire game a tutorial.
Okay, I
because
just
kind of do.
that's how terrible games are. Like,
I disagree. I think it depends on the type of game. All right, so you got on one hand you have something like The Order, which is just come out. It's been critically panned because
for good reason.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is a extremely beautiful alley of a game. It is literally just a single corridor that you progress down the entire way, and it's someone holding your hand telling you what to do. You're saying
it's
that
really
game
reignited that art is video game sort of debate. Like that's the first thing when I saw this.
But
game.
see, I don't consider it to be art. That's the thing.
No.
What I would consider to be art is something like Journey, which is the exact opposite of The Order, which is it isn't. You know, it's still a narrow passageway, but everything is inferred by the gamer.
Yeah.
You know, so
Continue. With the game when you're an assassin. What's the game?
can't really have multiple conversations
This
going.
is true. It's
Well,
true.
we could try that. That'd be more than any new sort of game.
There's a game. I can't remember. You
Dishonored?
loved it. Dishonored. All right, so Dishonored.
Yeah.
So a game which gives you the ability to do whatever you want, but within the means of what missions you have to do. That is a good example of a game where you can have open-ended things and try things in different ways. It's all about your approach, but yet again, the objective is the same. But the way you do your objective.
Wolfenstein was similar as well too, very
Yeah.
similar.
But everyone raved about that game. They were so happy to have that open.
Everyone raved about Dishonored. That was such a critically important game.
Exactly.
So you're wrong, Paul.
No.
I'm actually more right than you'll ever be at anything. So,
but you're both again in the same thing, and you're all like opposite.
but
fields.
even so,
It's
like there sort of was like a structure towards that. Like,
You're too loud.
I suppose like you got games like Journey, like they still didn't have a start and a finish, practically. Like there sort of was this objective, and yeah, like the one great thing about Journey is that. It's not like you were sort of forced to work as a team, you know, like not
Journey
being able
was
to
single player. Journey is the one where you basically play the avatar, and your objective is you have to get to the top of the mountain. And so it's about the.
I'm probably thinking of another game.
You think of something else. But
Definitely.
Journey was the like theological experience or pilgrimage to get to the end point. It's a
but you're in like those sand, like it's not like in like the sand, like the desert.
Yeah, but the thing with Journey is that Journey also pioneered like the drop in, drop out multiplayer. Where I remember the first time I played it, I didn't actually realise that the other characters were real people because you can't.
That's what I'm probably thinking of. Yeah. So it forces teamwork in a different way.
Communicate,
and it really does. Like I sort of like that idea. You know, like the actual tools that you get given. You know, you could use them in your way. But when it comes down to people making their own story per se, no, I'm sorry, they can't have that. Game developers need to have a start and an end. Not because that's the way that they should do things.
Cause.
It's because gamers, in my opinion, need those boundaries. They need those structures.
Yes and no.
I think that
you can make the tools as crazy as you want.
Take something like Far Cry 4. I didn't like Far Cry 4 because it's basically just a reskin version of Far Cry 4.
Yeah.
I'd already done everything in Far Cry 4 for 40, 50 hours in Far Cry 3. But the best thing about the Far Cry series wasn't the narrative. It's going off and, attacking a bloody rhinoceros with a fucking knife. And so Far Cry is a really interesting example, which is of you creating your own experiences and your own stories. Now,
well, that's not a story per se. Like you just sort of go around. And
but with the co-op in Far Cry, there's no story with the co-op. It's taking the basis. It's overcoming the obstacles. Yeah. For me, that's exactly the same as something like Destiny.
Well, that's sort of online. Like that's not exactly a campaign.
But that's really the thing is that like I don't necessarily think that you need the campaign. I think that providing you're having fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if there's a story. It doesn't matter if there's hand-holding. It doesn't matter that you go. Providing the game is fun. Because we can come up with examples like The Order. The Order is a beautiful game, but it's not fun. Journey is a beautiful game. It's not fun. It's moving. What's something else? Like, what's another thing? You could say that, like, I found, Skyrim to be grindy. I didn't think Skyrim was fun. I hit a wall with it after 15 hours.
Destiny has a good concept. It's not a fun game.
But I think Destiny is a lot of fun. It's just not a good narrative. But the thing with Destiny is I can grind for 40, 50 hours on Destiny, which I have done, because the actual gameplay is so mechanically beautiful.
All right, Jeez, the game companies wish they had tens and millions of you, Reece, because they would be so rich. They would love people like you.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing is it's like, I understand what he's saying, and what that is basically providing that you can enjoy your time with the game does it make it a bad game? If you can fundamentally enjoy playing your game, doesn't matter if it has a story, doesn't matter about anything. Like, certain elements will drop off, certain elements will be picked up. At the end of the day, if you can actually like the game, then sure. It could be the worst game ever and only one person likes it, but that person likes it, so they play it. Do you know what I mean? So, but at the end of the day, it's personal preference, what you like.
Of course, how I see things. Like, I'm definitely in the small group of gamers here. Like, I really don't expect a lot of people to share my opinions on it.
But the thing is, like,
pretty much life in general, to be honest.
But in saying that, I can understand both. I can understand both, and I like parts of each, and I don't entirely like what games Reece likes, but I like a bunch of them, and I'm sure the same would apply to you. But, again, Tay, can be bothered with it. We're going to wrap it up soon.
It's just really nice that we had this talk.
We've done a good double episode, and we've run about 10 minutes over.
We've run about 70 minutes over. That's all.
Yeah, well...
Alright, sweet. Well, so that was episode 2, or episode 3 technically, but we're going to go episode 2 of the T.G.C. podcast. So, we should probably just wrap it up now. Do you want to go in circles? So, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm Eddie.
Say goodbye.
See you later.
So this is Nick. Enjoy it.
This is Paul. I really had fun here. I love people, trying to attack me. It really gets me in that defense state that, it's...
He's a nice cat.
I haven't seen Paul for 6 months.
I'm carrying 8 inches right now. All right. Thank you.
You wish you carried 8 inches.
Well,
let's not get on to that.
All right, let's end it there. All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Ciao.